You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheap again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 10th part of What If Naruto Enters Helluvaboss. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Bones Boy 15 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Vaggy, did you see that? Charlie shook her girlfriend as she chewed on her lip. The fact that your dad just zapped the My Estúpido Zoro into the wall? Yeah, I did. The one-eyed girl smirked and kept her arms crossed. I'm trying to burn it into my memory. What? No, the secret message that Naruto sent to Luna. Charlie, babe, I love that you see the best in people, but we don't know that they're still together. Vaggy, you and I both know you watched their sex stream 5 times last week. Charlie deadpanned. PFFT, I'm sorry, what? Angeldust, who had been drinking a cream soda, spat it out and rolled over on the couch he was lounging on to look at his benefactors. He pointed a finger at the one-eyed head of security. You diddled to a furry hetero scene. So, where do you think that shark guy went? Vaggy asked. Don't ignore me. Well, if he's really from Cannibal Town, Charlie tapped her chin. Probably there. Uh-huh. Pete Scales looked around. Old-timey Americana City. Lack of enthusiastic meat cheering for slaughter. Lack of fresh food on the docket. Was that a hallucination? Peter, a jolly rotund sinner, waved him over to the entrance of a candy shop. His face of a walrus anus curled into a smile. The shark-headed man walked over with slumped shoulders and bewilderment written on his face. The walrus patted his arm. Tough luck, chap. We saw what happened. Hey everyone, Peter is back. Welcome back, Petey. Nice job, Pete. You almost had it, Peter. A mob of delightful sinners waved at him and showered him with platitudes. What? Did that actually happen? What F happened? Pete asked aloud. A titter had him turn and go frozen. His overlord approached with a razor-sharp smile on her face. Oh, Pete, you've got to take better care of your wristband. It cost me a lot of souls to get that approved for you. Bugger me. He blanched as Rosie gave him a Cheshire grin and hooked her arm around his. That comes later, darling. Now come watch the fight with me. So, which of you wants to go second? Naruto asked as he tossed his brick in the air. He looked between the two until the succubus, Anya, licked her lips provocatively. His eyes widened in slight horror as he felt the same tremble go up his spine he felt when the last succubus he was close to did the same thing. Before either of his adversaries could blink, his brick was whipped across the space between them at the succubus, and he darted forward past it. What the foo? Anya twisted out of the way, and both demons cringed as the mallet turned projectile-barreled through the pillar of carmine-crafted weaponry. She whirled back to look at where he stood. Where did he? Get the F away from me, creep! A jumping axe kick drove the fox fiend's heel into the crown on her skull, and the succubus was driven face first into the dirt. The crowd cheered as their bloodlust was ignited. Oof, I felt that from here. VERYYYY winced and rubbed at a phantom pain on her jaw. VD needs to work on his dom play. It's not supposed to actually hurt. Depends on the type of sub you get. The crew looked at Apple, who blinked. What? Some people are really effing KNKY and damaged. Yeah, no SHT ace deadpanned. Woo, nice shot, baby bro. B cheered as she clapped with 2 hands and then ate a chip she dipped into a conjured bowl of dip 4. Baby bro might actually pull this off. Alright, 2 down and 1 to go. Don't get too excited. Beach is still alive, said the little robo-imp that she was 30% sure was the inspiration for Mammon's stupid sect toy line. I didn't ask the peanut gallery, you wanna be F-toy, she growled. B, Ozzy gave her a scowl as the F-toy in question laughed. He patted Ozzy's arm. Ah, don't worry about it, Ozzy. After all, she's not entirely wrong. What did was this Ozzy's new slice? He was F Mammon's prototype clown toy. Weird, but whatever. B never really understood anyone's interest in clowns. She liked her partners cute, fluffy, beefy, ditzy, fun, or just yes. It was why she mostly took up lovers with her hounds. The fact they tended to have more talented tongues than other species down here may have played its part in her attraction to them. Also, nodding was awesome. She could get stretched in all the right ways and would bounce back tight as a virgin. Gotta love that F in demonic physiology. Alright. Ozzy cooled off and gave B another glower before he looked back down at the fight. I just hope Naru baby takes this seriously. If he wins, he still has to fight the champion. Oh yeah, I forgot about that part cause I haven't watched it in a couple of decades. B mused. What? She had a lot on her plate. What with all of her party planning and keeping her baby bro from either killing himself or dying in his sleep. Besides, even Satan didn't follow these fights anymore, and they were in his F name for the most part. SHT, they were in his ring. You'd think he'd be here for this. Hey, Lucy, is Satan SWNGNG by at all? Why? You gonna try and F him like you did his wife? Ozzy asked. His little partner laughed uproariously and B stuck her tongue out at him. Lucia was F hot, and she would tap it if given the chance. Tex made a curious sound, and she quickly shoved some dip 4 in his mouth before he could ask any questions. He whined and panted as he sought out something to cool his burning tongue. Ugh, her boyfriend was hot and a good F. But sweet snacks, he was such a weak-tongued PP when it came to spicy foods. He reacted the same way the last time she had him eat the dip, and this was less than he had then. Ah well, he'll deal with it. They already agreed earlier before they were seated that they didn't want to ruin the night's vibe with another argument. Twice in 1 week was already too much for either of their liking. Nah, I actually have him on out right now securing a few necessities for a personal project. Lucy drummed his fingers. Not that he'd show up anyway, he's in one of those keep the swole moods this year. Super jacked Satan was hot. She'd have to take a crack at him sooner or later. Maybe not, he's like a brother, and not in the baby bro way, but then again, they also weren't related weirdly. That didn't upset her as much as not being related to baby bro did. He was her baby bro, got him it, they shared vibe eating and everything. Then again, Satan was hot, but he was that kind of douchey older brother kind of hot. So she could tape it, right, HM? Would that satisfy her brother-focused lust? Probably not. She's really wanted to get a D'ing from baby bro for like a few years now, come to think of it. It's pretty much since a few years back when he gave her that PP pic in return for giving him full control over his social media presence. She hadn't actually expected him to do it, and tried to basically trick him into letting her manage his accounts, all of the cute baby pictures she would have posted in his name, and the favors she'd rack up when he whined at her to stop. Lost. But SHT, he F did it, and she still whipped it out occasionally for a bean flicking or self-cleaning, and the vibes she'd eat during his and Pretty Pup's eventual THRSM would be F delicious. Alright, that settles it. The text talk is going to the top of her to-do list after tonight is over. Bummer. She bit into the ceramic dish, holding dip 4 to eat her disappointment away. So, who's the champion now? Is it that Narm guy? He was funny. No, he got overthrown within a day. Nah. Lucy looked at his nails in disinterest. Asterius is back in the throne. Ozzy and B shared a look. Boss, why you don't mean the same Asterius that challenged Satan, right? The same soul that almost beat him? Yup, Lucy grinned. Are you saying that if he wins, my baby bro has to fight the F-Minotaur? B almost shrieked. She leveled the king of hell and sin with a furious glare on her face. He continued to smile his smarmy SHT-eating grin at her, and her BLD ran hot. Her throne's cracked armrests snapped off. I swear to God, Lucifer Morningstar, if this is all a F joke to you? Calm down, B. This is all part of our plan. Sit down, chill the F out, and enjoy the fights. He chuckled and stroked the fluffy duck on his lap. As if his will hadn't just overridden her own, forced her back into her restrained form. Mothaf knew how much she F hated it when he did that, and returned his eyes to the Colosseum floor just as baby bro and the ghoul squared off. It's going to be an amazing show. Naruto huffed as he stared at the downed succubus before he looked at the gaseous ghoul that hovered with wide eyes. So, he said, as he turned his body toward the green demon. One-on-one, now I guess. She isn't dead, is she? They asked, even as they kept their distance. Pretty sure they'd get rid of the body with some kind of depository magic. He shrugged. They didn't look impressed, and he rolled his eyes. A hand held his hip as he leaned back on one foot to look completely relaxed. Regardless of whether she is or isn't dead, she ain't getting up for a hot second. That much we can agree on, right? Unless she is biding her time. Great, you're a thinker. I hate fighting thinkers. Thinkers think they're so smart. He grumbled lowly and glanced to his left where the weapon stash was and then back at SHT. He didn't hear their name. Hey, before you die, what's your name? Their gaze hardened and their grip on the carmine-crafted spear tightened. He might have touched a nerve with that. Interesting. A bit arrogant to think I'm going to be the one that dies when you are the one King Lucifer took the power from, isn't it? Yeah, but to be fair. Naruto grinned as he gestured at himself with a flourish and then held his hands out. I'm awesome. You needed the handicap, trust me. Perhaps, but we'll never know for sure. They shrugged. Then their corporeal form became intangible. See-through, like a Naruto froze and his tail started to bristle. They twirled their intangible spear and swiped it through the air and ground like it didn't matter. My name is Gene Green, and when this is over, everyone will be saying GG. That was so corny and stupid. Even Naruto was embarrassed by it. And he said stupid and corny SHT all the time. Got him it. He should insult their education. He should insult their parents. He should insult their life choices. He should insult their wasted time. That's what he should do. What he was actually doing? Staring, stuttering, and trembling like a FPP. Why? Well, he may reside in one of the 7 rings of hell. He had some leftover hang-ups from before. No clever retort. What a shame. Gene smirked and rushed at him. He backed away with folded ears and a curled bristled tail as his legs shook. Damn it, he thought he got over this centuries ago. It's so stupid. He hated this phobia. SHT think. Naruto, he's coming at you. What was it that the emotional support hound said? It's irrational for a reason? No, wait, that was Herb. Think it's coming at him. He had to get away. There was no fighting it. He just had to get the away right the now. What the are you doing, Naruto? Run. 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 Goust. What is happening down there? Moxie squinted and tried to peer around the imp in front of him. They were massive. How did they only fill one seat? He sighed and resigned himself to watch via Jumbotron. They're gabbing a bit too much, come on. Dookie, don't just stand there, rip this wannabe specter to shreds. Millie jeered from her seat beside him. Past her was the rest of her family, and on the other side of Joe was their farmhand Striker, who seemed very invested in the fight. Millie elbowed Moxie and drew him out of his thoughts. How do ya think Luna and Blitz are handling this? Well, if Blitz hasn't said anything that would get her to kill him yet. Goust. The frightened and shrill shriek had the two look back at the arena. Moxie, again, couldn't see and had to stand on his seat to see the Jumbotron over the outraged, fat-assed imp that stood in front of him. Once he saw the camera shot, he deadpanned. Millie, is the Duke of Gluttony? Runnin' scared like a ninny with its arse on fire? Yup, he is. Millie nodded, her eyes glued to the scene of an orange blur racing away from a faint green one. Excited shrieks and yowls exclaimed in a gibberish that neither of them understood echoed up from the foxfiend on the run. Millie hummed. I bet it's part of a plan. Moxie looked back at the Jumbotron as more excitable exclamations left the now quadrupedal sprinting foxfiend. I'm not saying I disagree with you, Millie, but... Come on, Duke Elzebub, run him into the wall. Millie's younger brother cheered. A position echoed faintly throughout the stadium. The crowd was rather mixed about the situation. The fan favorite was running with his tail between his legs, which irked the Rathians on principle, and his opponent was just barely fast enough to keep up with him, let alone attack. It's like watching NASCAR, someone shouted on the other side of the arena, and that got the Rathians invested all over again. Why isn't anyone booing? This is so lame, Blitzo groaned. Looney growled beside him, but he figured it was just her way of agreeing. She was probably bored. It happened a lot whenever she was on her phone. Blitzo, have you ever watched NASCAR? The effin' hottie with the draconic body at the other side of the box asked. No? Is that why everyone here seems to be ignoring how stupid this is? He asked with a scoff. Yes. The quick and deadpan rebuttal made him choke on spit. Not quite often, but still possible, is the chance for a wreck at top speeds. Carnage on that scale is an acceptable alternative to outright bloodshed. Huh. No SHT, and you think you know a ring? Blitzo sat back and crossed his arms. He glanced at his baby girl while her eyes tracked the field. So, any idea why the kidnapping suddenly went beach? Luna's ear flicked towards him briefly. Was she really even listening? He narrowed his eyes and clicked his tongue. So he's keeping secrets from you? Gee, who could have seen that tight claws around his neck. Too tight to be hot. Also, it's his daughter, so that's just weird. Blitzo frantically pulled at the hand that held his throat. Loony, Herc Loony, let go of daddy's neck. Okay, her grip just got tighter. SHTF shitty SHTF butt tits. Stolas do something. Breathing is becoming problematic. He let out a strangled squawk and grabbed Stolas' shoulder. Thank the bird brain but realized he was in danger. Miss Loony. She snarled and tightened her grip even further. God damn it. His daughter was going to kill him, and it was going to be partially Stolas' fault. Most of the blame goes to the kidnapping because he was distracting Luna, but the rest definitely went to Stolas. Hellhound, cease strangling your owner at once. Blitzo dropped out of Luna's grip and slid off of his seat, hacking up a lung. Who did his life just get saved by the crusty ice beach Stolas' beach butt was married to? The beach in question sneered at him and then looked at his daughter with the same loathful gaze. Thank you, I was having difficulty enjoying the fox's torment with your shenanigans. Do us a favor and refrain from doing so any further. Blitzo scooted away from his Looney Tooney when she let out a low growl. He loved his little girl, don't misunderstand, but when she got murdery pissed, no one was safe. Especially not him, for some reason, but he chalked that up to the hellhound mixed breed genetics she had. What? Blitzo got all the papers he needed from the orphanage, including her genetic history. Weird about that unknown factor detected in 52% of her genome, but whatever. It just made his Luna more special than she already was. I thought you took him to a therapist for his phasmophobia. Oz frowned as he watched the chase happen down below. The second the shriek left the fox fiend, they had to be restrained by the boss. Oz calmed down relatively quickly, brought out of the memories that surged to the forefront of his mind of long, sleepless nights with a scared little pup after a life terror. B was still itching to jump down there and rip apart the demon that was triggering Naru baby, hence why she was still bound to her throne. I think. That was like 2 or 3 centuries ago, she growled around her attempt to gnaw through her bindings. Nothing worked, and when the chains let out a RBB duck's quack, she gave up. Giarara, damn it, Lucy, let me go. Are you still going to jump down there? Lucifer asked. Am I? Yes, of course, I am. B snarled and tried to unrestrain herself, only to immediately shrink back down. Foo hoo huck, that hurt. Don't try to break my stuff then. He sniffed. His cane pointed at Vortex. The poor guy looked torn between saying something and trying not to SHT himself. Which, given there were 3 sins in one space, Oz understood. Even his little froggy was uncharacteristically quiet and used Oz as a meat shield. And then his eyes followed. You, hellhound, you're the one B's been lately, right? He's my boyfriend, you short butt. B growled. Tomato, potato. Lucifer shrugged. He grinned at Vortex, and then started to baby talk. Oh, this was not going to end well. Can you be a good little doggo and fetch me a beer, HM? Can you fetch, boy? Are you a good little boy who can fetch? Lucy, I swear, B snarled. I can get you a beer, sir? Vortex nodded. Excellent. Hey, take Ozzy's blow-up doll with you, will ya? Oz froze and glared at Lucifer, who smirked back at him. Is that a problem, Ozzy? If we let this fine specimen of hellhound take your toy? Boss. Oz growled at the king. He felt his BLD boil and his head started to heat up. A cool hand held his arm and he looked down at his partner. Don't worry, Ozzy. His froggy smiled up at him. I can handle taking the doggo for a walk. Take me for a listen here, you little SHT. Boys, if you're going to fight, take it outside. And bring daddy another beer when the winner comes back, would you? Lucifer warned them as he smiled sinisterly. The two lesser demons shared another loathful look with one another before they left the box. Lucifer kept his smile up before he got out of his seat and stepped down to stand in front of B. He stood in front of her with his hands on his cane. Okay, the F-toys are gone. B, I need you to be honest with me right now. Is your little brother, our beloved Duke of Gluttony, so loved, so beloved, who is a literal demon compared to most of the F-worthless rabble here, still afraid of ghosts? If I tell you, what will you do with the information? B asked, eyes narrowed. Torture him infinitely? Of course, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm a fallen angel. B, I'm not evil. Just ... indifferent. He shrugged. Lucy, look at the fight. Is baby bro still screaming in Japanese? Because if he is... Oh, is that what it is? Japanese? Yes. Phew, I thought it was some kind of lost tongue. He chuckled and went back to his throne. You're still not allowed to go help him. B let out a frustrated scream just as Noru baby let out another horrified shriek and detoured away from the once more conscious succubus. Ozzy sighed and picked up the candied sec organs he made earlier. He might as well try to enjoy the kid's torment like Lucifer was. On, you hurt me so good, Foxy, Anya moaned as she licked some of the BLD that dribbled down from the broken nose she got upon hitting the ground. She cracked her WHP at the fleeing fox fiend and laughed. Come back here and let me return the favor. Hey, I figured out how you got so far in this tournament. You're a F-psychopath. Don't hate me because I'm appealing, she cried and made another crack that he had to jump away from. She flew at him with a wide toothy grin. Hate me for making you feel something before you die. You crazy, dumb beach, there's a F-ghost in the arena. Stop attacking me and run for your life. Naruto yelped as he was forced to juke around her attack and made a sharp turn to his left toward the center of the arena where the toppled weapon cache was. The ghost rose up from the ground to intercept him with their spear raised. He froze and his tail curled between his legs as his ears went flat. Now, rationally, yes, Naruto knew that the ghoul he was running from was just a gaseous demon that was often mistaken by humans to be a ghost. He knew he could fight them, could hurt them, SHT, he could probably even kill them, when they were solid. If Jean went solid, he could deal with them, but they weren't solid. They were in their gaseous form, that is, a literal F-ghost. Hence, irrational fear equates irrational response. Thus the lockup of his joints, whimpers, whines, curled tail and frozen response his body decided on. Bef this body, he didn't care how much Luna said she liked it. It was awful when faced against the undead. He wanted a new model or an upgrade, damn it. Finally, you stopped running. The ghost panted. Naruto gulped and started to look for a way out. Right? Nope, open space and a wall. Left? Nope, open space and a wall. Back the way he came? Nope, there was that psychopathic beach with a WHP that way. SHT SHT FF SHT butt tits. I'm going to kill you now. The ghost growled and touched onto the ground with their spear raised up. And then I'm going to kill that beach. And then I'll be able to afford that procedure for my mother. Oh, hey, they were solid. The fox fiend's heart and irrational brain. You're doing this for money to save your mother? Naruto asked, tail uncurling. A mantra started in his head. Let it get close. Don't let it become a ghost. Let it get close. Don't let it become a ghost. Let it get close. Don't let it become a ghost. Let it get close. Don't let it become a ghost. Let it get close. Don't let it become a ghost. No, I'm doing this to get money to kill my mother. Beach keeps draining my F checking account going down to sloth for some medicine or some SHT. They curled their lip and pulled their spear back. But with the money I make off of this, she'll never need medicine again. Right, cool, you're not a G-ghost, right? Naruto had to double check, just to make sure. Jean narrowed his eyes. No, you F inbred shitlord, I'm a F gaseous ghoul. Okay, good. Naruto's legs tensed and his claws dug into the ground. Almost, still had to shake the rest of the nerves off. He needed to stall where was the psycho beach, watching them like a ver. Sniff, sniff, yep, that's exactly what she's doing. He will never understand succubi until he can pull this off. Quick, bad math. A minute, maybe, half that at best. You know, all this running around has made me hungry, and frankly, I don't think I could handle another heart attack from your little gas trick. Yes, well, I never expected a Duke of Hell to be afraid of ghosts and scream like a little beach. Yeah, see, that little jab? His eyes narrowed. Jean was still panting, subtle, but it was there. Their stamina must be SHT. Kind of cemented it. Cemented what? How I'll kill you. He let his lips spread into a wide, toothy grin as his eyes flashed white. A flare of killing intent froze the troublesome demon in his tracks. I've always kind of wondered what ghouls taste like. What? The Duke of Gluttony lunged before the ghoul could react. His jaw opened impossibly wide, and then his teeth crashed together once he had the ghoul's head surrounded. He crunched down on the skull once, twice, and then gulped before he backed away from the now headless corpse. A sludge-like, tar-colored BLD oozed out of the stump of the neck that remained. Ugh, gross. He pushed the body so that it fell back, and before it hit the ground, it flickered away. I knew it, depository magic. He turned back to the now squirming psychopath and warily watched her as she rambled to herself too quietly for him to hear her. Huh, weirdo. Well, if she's going to do that, he can clean himself up a bit. He ran his thumb along his snoot and sniffed the slight bloody sludge residue that managed to splash his muzzle. Not much to worry about, and it didn't smell like rot. He put his thumb into his mouth, sucked the BLD off before he smacked his lips. That's actually not so bad, Naruto mused as his eyes closed and started to pick at his teeth with his pinky as his tail started to wriggle. Tastes like cheesy broccoli. I've got something better for you to taste. Really? Wah holy rotten zombie Jesus, how the F? Naruto jumped back. Tail once more bristled at the sudden appearance of the succubus in front of him. Oh, didn't anyone tell you, hon? She giggled and blew a fine mist into the air. She faded away and her voice echoed around him. Succubi are masters at two things at BRTH, mind games FLLT of all sexes and manipulation. Pretty sure that was 3 things. I never said we were good at math. Anya giggled as she pulled her WHP tight enough for the LTHR to creak. Naruto started to back away slowly. His ears flicked about, and there's a hand on his crotch. Get the F off. A decently sized crack appeared in the ground, and the succubus laugh echoed around him. Oh, but it's so unappreciated and ignored. Beach, I have a sec tape, he snarled and had to jump back again when the succubus reappeared in front of him. F, you need a bell. You do? She bit onto her lip and looked him up and down. Who's the lucky guy I'll SCK off later to apologize for making him single again? Naruto took a deep breath, clenched and unclenched his jaw, before he exhaled slowly. Yup. Yep. Yep. What's yep? Anya tilted her head as she put a finger to her lips. This. The discarded spear that was left behind after his ghoulish snack break was kicked up into his hand and he chucked it at the succubus head. To his dismay, it passed through her face and impaled the wall. The succubus in front of him vanished and Naruto groaned. I hate genjutsu users. You never fight fair. I don't know what that word is, but you're the idiot that made that deal with Lucifer, Foxy. The succubus taunted him from everywhere at once. Maybe if you weren't so busy making food pawn, you'd be better at this. Oh, Beach, he growled and balled his hands into tight fists. I am going to enjoy killing you. Luna watched her boyfriend duck and weave around an invisible opponent while the succubus skank kept whipping him. She curled her lip back to expose fangs and growled when one crack of the WHP got him in the butt. That was her second favorite part of his body, thank you very much, and she didn't want to see it marred or ruined by this twisted cunt of a lust demon. Succubus illusion. Blitzo snapped his fingers from the seat behind her. F coward, acting like he wasn't intentionally provoking her while she watched her boyfriend fight with a severe butt handicap. That's how she's making him look stupid. Vero Skank did it to me once on our 2-week anniversary. Made you look stupid? Luna asked, glad for the slight distraction of watching her doof get whipped by an angelic weapon. She didn't even want to imagine what that felt like. It had to hurt. He was getting all the boops and kisses and scratches he wanted after this stupid fight, what? She read about the importance of TLC after a SM session for purely academic reasons. Of course, and this fight was basically turning into one. You wait, no, her adoptive shithead of a father huffed. She put me in a sec illusion. Not a bad org either, drained me dry. Gross, she gagged. From the corner of her eye, she saw that Stolas' feathers fluffed in what she sincerely hoped was agitation. A loud crack was followed by a louder and familiar snarl that had her red eyes turn back to the fight. Ooh, Foxy, you look so cute, all cut up and bloody. Anya, the sadistic WHR, giggled in a Gotham echo chamber at this point. He jerked away from another WHP that flew at him from his left, only to take another stinging blow on the right. Angelic weaponry was such horseshit. God damn it. Naruto snarled as another crack got him near the base of his spine. Unless he got some actual medical treatment from a smeg. These burns were going to scar when they healed. Not only that, but his hoodie was going to be shredded to ribbons before he was done here. He put his hand to his back that one wasn't too deep, so she was still keeping her distance, and whipped around at another giggle. I love the sound of your pained screams, Foxy. I can't wait until they become screams of joy. Keep dreaming, Beach. SHT, he needed some kind of defense here. Wait, where was the bingo? The carmine-crafted weapon cache was still visible, still too far to make a dash for, and leaving himself vulnerable. Okay, so he either had to knock her out again at the least just to get a new weapon, or somehow disable the worst part of her toy. Both options were easier said than done given how she was masking herself and attacking him from everywhere under the guise of an illusion. No, hang on. He could smell her, still. Sweat, fertile female sec and dried BLD, nothing to write home about. He knew this strat. He abused the out of this strat. This wasn't an illusion made to mask her location, it was one to cause a misdirection. What did he have available to him that wouldn't compromise Dushifer's stupid plan? His magic and true form were locked, a bit of a show to keep his guard down. And he wasn't to use any of his jutsu. Alright then, time to go back to the basics. First, he had to find Anya. To do that, he had to ignore the attacks he saw coming. They weren't real, and that was going to be a beach on his instincts. He had to ignore her voice as she taunted him. It was just noise. He had to focus on her scent. Find her sour and spicy vibes. Sniff. Bingo. Gotcha. Beach. She's staying behind him at his 6 o'clock, veering between 4 and 8 to keep him off guard. DMN, that's pretty clever. If he could bait her into an attack from somewhere between 9 and 3, he could get a counter in. Damn it, he had to take a big hit to make her confidence go up. Her arrogance was high enough as it was, but she wasn't confident enough to get closer. Might as well make it look good. The next attack came from his right. He turned towards it before he jumped back. Sure enough, this blow got him on the spine, right between the shoulders. That hurt so much. SHT, he fumbled his landing and rolled to his stomach. Okay, milk it. But don't make it obvious, shouldn't be too strong. SHT that feels deep. He forced out a whine and let his limbs shake as he pushed himself back up on all fours. SHT, FO. Okay, bait set. Trap ready. Oh, come on Foxy, don't you want to play some more? Everyone's getting bored, especially me. Naruto strained not to let his ears turn toward the sound of her voice once you know it's being thrown. You can trace it back to the source at 8 o'clock. She couldn't get any hints he was onto her. He forced, and then swallowed a whimper. What's wrong? Foxy, does it hurt so good? You are an absolute cunt. He huffed and reached up to grab the collar of his hoodie. This next bit should throw her off her game. He smirked as she cracked her WHP onto the ground. 8:45. He could turn into that and quick guesstimation catch the WHP. Ooh, say more dirty words like that. Why don't you make me, slut? Yikes, Spice took a second to override Sour before they balanced out again. SHT, this was one freaky succubus. Gladly. Anya released a thick amount of lust-filled, sour butt vibes before she pulled her WHP back. Moment of truth. He hoped this worked. Luna was definitely going to kill him for this later. If not punish him with however long his break will be between fights with spot scratches. Naruto's claws dug into the shredded hoodie he wore and tugged just as her arm came down. He ripped his shirt off and turned as he tossed the tattered cloth at the space where her spicy and sour vibes were the strongest. His other hand came up and caught the WHP as it came down. He briefly winced reflexively as the angelic tip of the weapon slapped into his skin, and then he tugged on it to make the LTHR toy go taut. His jaws snapped through it and cut the WHP short, which caused Anya, now blinded by his tossed hoodie, to stumble back. He huffed and tossed the dangerous part of her WHP aside. He'd eat it. But he wasn't sure what that would do to his intestines before he glared at the rising Anya. She held his ripped hoodie to her face with her free hand and took a deep sniff. Goddammit, that should not have been as sexy as his body thought it was. That was so dirty. Foxy, you're a dirty boy. Anya cooed as she dragged the hoodie down her neck and over her tits. Oh, he understood what was happening. She was trying to mask her scent. She must think that's how he found her. Cute, but not enough to stop him from hitting her now that he narrowed down the weakness to her illusions. Turns out vibes can't be faked. Good to know, and rubbed it around her toned stomach. She bit her lip and smiled at him. The Astuck TV leer contrasted with the absolutely rancid vibes of lust that surrounded her. I'm going to make you pay in BLD for breaking my brand new toy. Anything to say to that? Naruto arched his eyebrow. Really? Alright, if she was giving him an opening like that, she can bet her butt he's taking it. He pointed a claw at her. You got something on your face. Anya actually checked. Well, he officially had no remorse. He shot forward and drove a fist into her already broken nose. She flew back and slammed into the arena wall. From the impact webbing, she stared at him, stunned, and half of her face now covered in BLD. He brandished his BLD-soaked bandaged fist at her with a smirk. It was my fist. Don't worry if you didn't catch it the first time. His smirk became a toothy smile. His eyes blazed and he crouched with the same fist pulled back, ready to rush her again. You're about to get real FNTMT with it. The crowd, who he'd long since ignored, reminded him of their presence with a roar as he drove another hook into her face. F yeah, kick her butt, baby bro, B cheered. She was still wrapped up, much to her frustration, by Lucai's weird duck chain thing. Ozzy whistled and clapped his approval while the short king behind them both chuckled. And you were so worried. He cleared his throat and his voice took on a falsetto. Hey, wait, B's voice didn't sound anything like that, right? She'd ask Vortex once he got back. Oh no, my cute little baby BWO is gonna get hoed by the duity evil succubich. Lucai, get these KNKY chains off of me and let me save him so I can play sexy nurse with his boo-boos. You are so determined to get another black eye, aren't you? B snarled as her ears burned. She never called these stupid duck chains KNKY. You gave him a black eye? Ozzy asked. When? Like a month ago. Lucy was waving off her justified punch to the face. B just knew it. As if he didn't pick and choose his words to make her think baby bro was gonna start the apocalypse. He knew DMN well that what he said freaked her the out. I convinced her to leave a date night so she'd have a chance to stop him from revealing himself to Syrah. That's a FPP move, boss. Oh, whatever. I figured it would be better if she reined the brat in. Lucy scoffed. Not like it mattered. She lost. F off. Baby bro caught me off guard with some bad vibe attack. B scowled and then pouted. Still want to learn how he did that. Bad vibe attack? Ozzy asked. Yeah, it was some really negative SHT. Lobo said it was something only Jin from Cherokee could do, I think. You guys know how bad I am with details. It's why baby bro handles that for me whenever I plan parties. B, when was the last party you threw? Wow, it's been a hot second. I mean, I've been pretty busy with planning baby bro's birthday, triple checking things for the next BU parade, going over Hound Orphanage referrals and requests, making sure the Beelzejuice production is still top-notch, and double-checking my books to make sure Mammon isn't scamming me like 2-3 weeks maybe? B frowned. It really has been a hot second since she had a huge party. There was so much SHT going on right now, though. Partying didn't feel right until baby bro was back where he belonged in her ring, which he hadn't been to in a few months. Maybe she needed the break. Don't worry, lords and lady sins, for we have returned with snackage, cackled Ozzy's little toy, disrupting B's thought process. He bounced in with a giant bucket of popcorn that was set in front of her. There was even a shovel for a plebeian to use to dig into it. That's the biggest bucket they got. Doggo there suggested it. Aw, Tex, thanks babe. Bee turned her head to smile gratefully at her boyfriend. He smiled back at her after he gave Lucy the single bottle of beer he carried in one hand, while the keg on his shoulder was set beside her throne. Something to wash it down. He rumbled and kissed her cheek. Bee squirmed happily in her bound seat and sighed. Yes, I am keeping you. Oh, yeah, Vortex leaned in and growled at her, and she growled back. She really liked it when Vortex put a little bit of fight in his flirt. It got her BLD so pumped and she felt hot. Krakum. Oof, that had to hurt. Walk it off, kiddo. Lucy hollered and Bee looked back at the arena floor just in time to see baby bro pull a golden trident out of his side while he lay in the heap of SHT that Carmela F. Carmine gave to the Sins for the semifinals. His opponent, the succubus, was now in the air and rubbing herself in various RTC ways, which would be hot if she hadn't just F-bodied her baby bro while her body let off electric sparks. I looked away for 2 F seconds. He had her in the F wall. What the F happened? Well, he was pounding her into the wall. Over and over and over and over. It was vigorous and exciting. Ozzy's Imp F toy shivered where he sat once more in Ozzy's lap, and his words brought an amazing image to Bee's head. Shame it was probably purposefully RTC. She finally couldn't handle anymore and exploded all over him. That can't be what happened. Vortex deadpanned. Nope, that's exactly what happened. Lucy chuckled. He clapped his hands with the crowd. This is such a great F day. Come on kiddo, you got this. Just bend her over like you did your cute little mutt. Oh, when Bee got out of this bullshit attempt at BNDG play, she was so giving Lucy another black eye. Why is it always F lightning? Naruto coughed and held his bleeding side with a wince as he got back to his feet. DMN, that effin' hurts. Did she get a lung? No, just arteries, small effin' mercies. Yes, yes, yes. Bleed for me, Foxy. Anya's moaning demand ruined her attempt to dive into him as her body let off excess sparks. He rolled not the best idea he's ever had, rolling with 3 deep puncture wounds in his side, that is to the right. The cackling witch of a succubus eyes sparked as she leered down at him and licked the BLD around her mouth. Her hands raised up and a lot of crackling began to emit from her palms as the light show grew larger and larger. That doesn't bode well. You hurt me so effin' good, baby. It's only fair that I return the favor. SHT, Naruto threw himself out of the way of the stream of near white lightning that shot from her hands. He growled and used a broken pole arm DMN, not an angelic staff. Come on. His luck would be that bad, wouldn't it? To stand up. He pointed at her as she giggled and squirmed in the air. Okay, the F illusions I get. Where the F does the lightning come from? Mommy was a succubus and Daddy was a thunderbeast. Well, that explains a whole F-lot. He deadpanned. Thunderbeasts were extremely volatile and often kept to themselves in their homes on the edge of the lust ring. Also, Anya was a half-breed, good to know. He kicked the pole arm he used as a crutch out and chucked it like a spear. She caught it in a stream of lightning. Demons can do that with lightning. He had some ideas for a few tricks with his least favorite magic now, and it spread to the rest of the weapons and a few pieces of debris scattered about the ground. It all rose up and was aimed at him. Oh F me. His ears went flat. If you submit to me, I will. Pretty sure there's no surrendering in this fight. Naruto deadpanned. Not that he had. SHT. Anya grinned a toothy grin as she spread her arms back. You're so F adorable, bleeding out and talking like a cute little idiot. Beach. His right eye twitched. He stomped forward and brandished a bloody fist again. What the F is that supposed to mean? I'm not the dumb beach asking for a FSBMSN in the F deathmatch, you know. Ugh, I'm going to F miss you when you're dead. I've never had so much fun during FRPly before, Anya cackled as she threw her arms forward. The weapons and debris covered in lightning all rocketed down like meteors. Luckily, Naruto's heated temper had one boon that worked in his favor well, too technically. It gave him a bit of clarity and an adrenaline rush. Think I'm gonna stay down here and let you insult me like that? He snarled as he flipped, rolled, juked, and dodged out of the way of everything that came down. The last Carmine-crafted weapon to be avoided was a giant Dao, and Naruto dropped to a knee as he panted. Upside? He dodged everything, and she lost her weapons. Downside? He still lost a lot of BLD doing that, and yoop. The ring started to tilt. This fight had to end. Now. He needed something to give him an edge. Sword? No. Spear? No. Brick? No, wait, by the brick. An obsidian chain. It wasn't affected by the lightning. A couple meters away, maybe more? He could reach that. He looked up at Anya, who he'd bet had followed his gaze, just as she looked at him. She grinned. He snarled. They moved. He was at the chain in record time for a demon that was bleeding profusely from the side. He grabbed the end of it and watched the succubus circle to gather speed for what he bet was another dove bomb. Man, he should drain Greed's casinos of their cash. His bets were spot on today. He wound part of it around his right wrist and stood on the other end. When she swiped at him, he jumped up, kicked the part by his foot at her face, twisted in the air as she reflexively caught it, landed on his feet, thank F. That would have been a fatal mistake if he didn't, and yanked the beach down over his shoulder. She was ripped out of the sky and landed face first on the brick he threw at her back when their fight started. Submit to that, beach. Naruto huffed and let the chain drop. He barely heard the crowd's roar once Anya's corpse was whisked away. Still, once he saw that happen, he held a fist up and stood proud. For all of 5 more seconds before his eyes rolled up and he passed out. That was marvelous. Asterius sighed as he released another load inside of his oni hole. The lesser demon choked and gagged on the jism that blocked his airway along with the fat phallus that also rested there. The Minotaur watched the screen in his private viewing chambers. He watched SMEG officials rush out and gather the Duke onto a gurney. The inane, annoying sinner that rambled over the fights was ignored by the reigning champion of Elysium. He felt himself harden again and ignored the grunted protests from his toy. His trophy would be cleaned up before their bout, and soon after that, he'd be putting that wide, gaping mouth and the tight little butt to proper use. For now, Asterius groaned as he pushed his hardened length deeper into his oni hole. He would ensure Zabuza would forever remember why he was put on his knees before him. The weak existed to serve the strong, and Asterius was the strongest. This is bullshit. B scowled as she glared at the doors that blocked her out from her baby bro. He was rushed into a makeshift surgical camp at Lucai's order, and it wasn't until after he was out of the arena did that BSTRD bother to remove her bindings. She sped away so fast, she barely managed to stop and wish VERYYYY luck on the midway show performance. Relax, B. He'll be okay. Vortex kept his arms around her, which was a huge comfort. Your brother is too stubborn to have gone through all of that, just do die from blood loss. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, babe. She smiled up at him gratefully and then scowled back at the doors. She'd feel better if she could get some of her royal honey to the dumbass medics. It was her baby bro. She knew what would fix him up in a jiffy. But again, Bard. Miss, you can't go back here. Gah, you bye. We got a code violet outside of medical. Bring restraints and tranks SHT. Backup. We need backup. This area is for authorized personnel only, yipe. I'm about to use your face to give me authorization. Now let me F through. I know that growl. B perked up and zipped out to the gates where a squad of hounds as big as Vortex were trying to hold off a very pissed off pretty pup. She whistled sharply and the squabble stopped. Pretty pup, from where she dangled between 2 hounds, narrowed her eyes and twisted to knee one of her attempted apprehenders in the crotch. When one arm was free and she could touch the ground, she twisted on the ball of her foot and flipped the other meathead over her shoulder. Drop her. Do that and I'll eat you. And not in a fun way. B deadpanned as she walked up and put her 2 left arms around the snarling pretty pup's shoulders. She tensed and growled, but let B lead her back into the medical tent. The Sin waved a hand at the still tense security that was present, as well as the backup one now unconscious idiot called for. Relax, morons, I got her. Go back to what you were doing. Come on, pretty pup. Let's go see if baby bro is out of surgery yet, huh? Surgery. Pretty pup repeated, and then oh well, F. If that wasn't the second saddest whine B ever heard, first place belonged to forever and always her baby bro. He was 2 years old. It was his second time after waking up from his long stasis nap and being denied his well-deserved second lunch of ramen by one of the stupid nannies she thought knew what they were doing. B had never ripped a hound apart so fast she would not eat a horse. B cooed and tightened her two-armed, one-sided hug. SHH, it's okay, pretty pup. Just some minor fixings to speed his healing along. B rubbed the pretty pup's shoulder and guided her to the bench Vortex waited with her on. Her boyfriend in question nodded at pretty pup, who barely managed a nod in turn. B sat beside her wonderful boyfriend and pulled the pretty pup to sit on her lap. She let out a small yelp of shock and wow, this was a nice surprise. Pretty pup's got a cute, firm, little butt struggled a bit before she settled. There we go, now we're all first in line to see. Lucifer and Asmodeus went in a minute ago. Vortex mumbled. B let her jaw click shut. She took a deep breath in, reluctantly let pretty pup scooch her cute little butt off of her lap to sit beside her, immediately curling up her legs and tail onto the seat. That's not a good sign. This poor pup, she was so getting choice head from B when they had their THRSM and then exhaled. Of course they did. She grumbled before she grinned. Well, then I guess that means we can go in. Don't even think about it, B. Ozzy deadpanned as he stepped out of the room and walked over to them. His ever-present sectoy partner was sitting on his shoulder. He crossed his arms. Boss wants a minute alone with Naru baby. On that note, hello there. Your Naru baby's G his ga. Just give it up, Ozzy. We all know you have commitment issues. The sectoy poked Ozzy's leftmost head. B refused to laugh at him on principle, even if that was a great burn. Humph. Ozzy put his hands on his hips as he gave the imp a look before he smiled at pretty pup with all of his faces. You're Luna, right? Why yes, Lord Asmodeus. Pretty pup swallowed before her ears folded back. She brushed some of her hair out of her face. Sorry about last time. Oh, no, don't sweat it, kiddo. I think you handled it very well. Ozzy snapped his fingers. Say, that reminds me. So, this wasn't intentional, I promise. He's lying. B stage whispered out of the corner of her mouth. B, shut up. This is officially none of your business. Ozzy deadpanned. She stuck her tongue out at him and moved to sit on Vortex's lap. Oh, hey there, TP. Maybe B was just gonna tease her beau for a minute while pretty pup entertained Oz. All right, I'm done. Oz, you can let what the F was that? Lucai gasped as a white and black blur shot past him fast enough to make him spin. He stumbled to a stop and patted himself down. Still clothed, still have a wallet. Why the F did someone just turn me into a goddamn cartoon joke? You're not one already? B asked with a snort as she hopped up off of her boyfriend's half-chub and zipped into the room just in time to see baby bro and pretty pup do their cute as F-boop thing. Foook, these vibes were so good. B, you want to wait for? Vortex cut himself short as he walked in and watched the boop. His jaw worked a few times before he shook his head. F. What is that? It's the boop, B whispered with a giddy grin on her face. F, these vibes were so F good, and this was the vanilla, PG-13 SHT. B. Baby bro mumbled drowsily as pretty pup crawled into the bed with him. Out. Why? It's not like you're gonna F, right? Were they? B wanted at least a front row seat before she got to the main attraction. B. Pretty pup growled and started to look away to glare at her. That stopped when baby bro whimpered. Pretty pup turned back into the boop, but kept growling. Give us a few minutes, please. Ooh, ballsy of her. Daring her to stick around like that, challenge accepted. B liked it when the pups had some fight in them. She opened her mouth hello. Giant fist she's eaten before. Oh, and there's a hand on her shoulders. Tex? Babe? The F was happening? Good fight. Rest up for the final. He said as he pulling her out? No, babe, the F. This was a challenge interference. B, come on. We'll visit him before the final. What the foo? One of them was crying. Those were bitter vibes, a hint of spice underneath and doused in a thick coat of sweet. B dug her heels in an attempt to figure out why when she heard them as the flap closed. Fucking glad you're okay and ever scare me. Sorry, love you, Loon. I love you, doof. S so effin' much. Oh. TLC. Yeah, she'd give them a bit of privacy. Ugh, but how was she going to keep herself distracted for so long? I think we should go have our talk, B. Well, SHT alright, FU universe. Okay, babe. standing together, not far from the tent where they left the younger couple. Vortex and B shared a quiet, awkward silence in a small alcove of the Colosseum. The latter's cause of quiet couldn't be verified without breaking the silence, but the former wouldn't be the first to do so. Not out of anger, but because he needed the quiet to gather his thoughts. At some point while they were in a relationship, B developed a serious gluttonous lust for her brother that caused a swell of mixed feelings that Vortex needed to work out, and now his new girlfriend as well. He knew that, in the grand scheme of things, if B got denied it long enough she would do something drastic. There's a reason Belfagor kept changing the locks on her drag stashes, and that could end their relationship. Vortex didn't want that. He also didn't want to have to do some macho bullshit fight for her, either. Of the fight he saw, of the feat he witnessed. For the first time in his life Vortex wondered if he was actually as tough as he thought he was. Lazy punk butt or not, Naruto proved to every F-ring that he was officially one of the strongest non-sin, non-Gosha demons in all of hell. And Vortex. He wasn't sure why the little BSTRD always let him off. Was it a sign of disrespect for the Hellhound? Maybe, but he doubted it. Most of their digs at each other, when viewed in hindsight, were kept lighthearted. Vortex would call him a BSTRD or lazy or some mix of the two, and Naruto would retort with a crude joke or a jab at his K&K. Most of the anger towards the brother of Beelzebub came from watching B interact with him, prioritize him, argue with him. That last one pushed some of Vortex's buttons. He just didn't understand why the brat wouldn't submit to the F-sin that took him in and raised him up. Was it just a teenager thing? Was Vortex ease with SBMSN a Hellhound thing? He didn't know, and wouldn't know, until he and Naruto had words. But this wasn't the time for that. So, his girlfriend, the sin of gluttony, broke the silence. How? What do you want to talk about? You want me to be okay with you having a THRSM with your brother and his girlfriend. We need to talk about why. Vortex leaned back against the brick wall. He ticked up his claws. Why do you want this THRSM? Why are you determined for me to be okay with it? Why shouldn't we just take a break if you want it so bad? Vortex, babe. She held his arm and her eyes stared up at him. Worry, concern, he saw those and more start to build behind her gaze. I don't want to break up. I don't either, B. He smiled at her reassuringly before he shook his head and his smile fell. But we need to talk about it. Baby, I'm just not okay with you having a THRSM with your brother and his girlfriend. It's not even being left out that bothers me, but I'll admit it doesn't help. I know. Her ears dropped and she sighed as she looked down. I know, I get that. I remember what you said. But you still want it, Vortex interjected. He tilted her head back up and stroked her cheek. Babe, we've been together for 6 years. That's a F record down here. I'm sure of it, and I don't want this to be a fight again. Because if it becomes one, I'm just preparing myself for the worst, okay? F. Maybe later. He teased. It was a dumb joke, but it got a smile out of his girlfriend, and he earned a small pinch for it. He wrapped his arms around her and growled happily when she returned the embrace. He kissed her cheek and stroked a claw by her ear as she nuzzled into his neck. Babe, I may never be okay with it if it happens, but maybe if we work out why you want it to happen or why you want me to be okay with it, we can figure something out, okay? Okay. Then, let's start with why you want this. And please give me something more than the vibes. You wouldn't be this bent on it if it were just that. He gave her a knowing look, and she had the grace to look slightly ashamed. So what is it? If I tell you, you won't get upset, right? I can't promise that. He shook his head. She frowned and he shrugged. I can promise to hear you out and not to throw a tantrum, but I can't promise anything about how I feel. He grinned and gave her a swift embrace on the cheek. Other than how I feel about you, that is? You're such a effin' corndog, she snorted. He shrugged and then watched her expectantly as she gathered her thoughts. Her scent changed. The honey sweet he was used to smelling around him became a bit sweeter, closer to how Naruto's girl smelt. A bit like vanilla and honey blended. Baby bro beat me in a fight. She whispered the words and they hit Vortex like a barrage of sledgehammers. That actually explained a whole F-lot about the situation. Vortex never fought B physically. He didn't want to nor see the need to get his butt handed to him. But if he ever decided to get serious with her, he'd have to. It wasn't a rule of sin, it was just fact. In the depths of demonic biology was that demand for power. He'd have to prove he was strong enough and beat her. That was laid out all the way back when they started dating. Back when he met her ex to give some depth to the SHT show he found himself in. Never in all of his life before that day did he expect to meet the literal original Hound of Hell, Cerberus. That was the type of power he had to meet and surpass if he ever felt like getting serious with B. But that was potentially future Vortex's problem. Right now, he needed to worry about the role reversal that happened without his knowledge. No, wait. Was this during that apocalypse thing? He asked. B nodded, and he grimaced. He should have asked about details that day much sooner. When she got back that day, all he asked was if she was okay, and when she told him she was, their date night spilled into the next day, and he found himself unable to walk. That revelation led him to his next question. How bad was it? Bad enough that if I hadn't gotten my fine butt pulled out of the fire by the coin scythe, I wouldn't be here right now. No wonder she was so horny that night. She not only got her butt kicked, but ran into one of her free passes. Honestly, Vortex didn't blame her for wanting a piece of Lobo. He met the Death Hound when he was younger and saw him his father. Not intentionally, but, he got the attraction there. Lobo was on his free pass list, too. I need to process that, he admitted. B nodded into his neck. He stroked her back as his eye focused on nothing in particular. The little shithead he gave a strong time just became a big player in Hell's hierarchy. He was unofficially stronger than the sin of gluttony, a feat unheard of by any demon of any ring outside of other sins. If he managed to win again tonight, Vortex needed to talk to Naruto. Alone. You know I love you, right, Vortex? Huh? He blinked and looked at his girlfriend. She stared into his eyes and cupped his face. She pulled him into an embrace. He reciprocated until she broke it and stared into his eyes again. I love you. Oh, yeah, I love you, too, B. Still processing. Yeah. Okay. B smiled and gave him another embrace. Wanna finish this talk later? Yeah, we may have to do that. Yeah, Vortex suddenly had a SHT ton of new things he had to think about. Luna had never felt this anxious before in her life. Maybe when she had interviews with families as a pup. Oh, no, you don't really want that one. She's too mean. She snaps whenever we try to pet her and always hides during mealtime. What is she? Oh, she's some kind of mutt. No? Alright then, let me show you our purebreds. Maybe getting her FIXED should help with the attitude, if you can know. Alright. She got that anxious, but that was part of her life she didn't want to revisit. Whenever she was anxious, she tended to lash out. So, yeah, hearing Blitzo laugh when Naruto passed out after his win triggered something. She'd have to apologize for the throat jab later maybe. It depends on if he was going to keep being a PP. Being held up by those meat-headed beaches in security didn't help her calm down any. They didn't care if she was his girlfriend. Just because she was an F family, so the F what? B was only his sister on F paper. And thus they had to be absolute D-chi canoes about it. She wanted her doof, she wanted a boop, and she wanted his violet and almost coconut scent within nuzzle radius. She wanted to see his dumb smile, hear his stupid jokes, and she wanted to tell him how proud she was of him. He took out 3 of Hell's top fighters, sure. One was a technicality. Sinner bullshit would have made that fight awful to watch anyway, but it was still a win without the use of magic, demonic power, or his stupid ninja CRP. How many other demons could say they did that? She wanted all of that, and the D-chi canoes kept getting in her way. If B hadn't shown up when she did, Luna might be sitting in a holding cell or unwillingly on her way to the morgue. That last thought made her think of the dead butt sniper tried to kill her doof. He got off too lightly and how that first interaction ended. She had to curl up on the bench to calm down. Watching that last fight was strong for more than one reason. That Beach kept using that FWHP on her doof and shocked him and got him impaled. If she hadn't died, Luna would have finished the job herself. B said he had to get surgery. Royals get surgery outside of cosmetic SHT. This next one, the final? It was going to be torture. She could feel it in her bones, like a cold chill in the air. What was only minutes, if not seconds, of waiting that felt like hours past Lord Asmodeus was nice. She kind of wondered what he wanted to ask her. If it was anything to do with becoming his side beach, he could take a hike. She wasn't into preening flaming roosters. She preferred her doofy foxfiend's PP. Thank you very much. The BSTRD in charge, King Lucifer himself, walked out of Naruto's room and gave the okay to go in. She sprinted past him through him. She wasn't sure. Luna just moved. She didn't know if she tapped into magic to help her or not, and practically collapsed beside Naruto's bedridden, bandaged body. There was an Roman 4 in his right arm and monitors on his chest, and the room smelt of antiseptic. Bleary blue eyes cracked open and half-focused on her. His cute black nose flared as he scented the air a few times before his lips pulled up into a small smile. The wriggler weakly thwaped into the bed and his ears perked in her direction. Loon. His hand hadn't even fully raised up, and she had it clasped in both of hers. She craned in close and pushed her nose to his. Relief washed through her. He's here, he's alive, but she was denied his violet and almost coconut scent. Antiseptic, what good did that SHT ever do for anyone? Doof! She breathed and closed her eyes. Past the stupid high-grade cleansing scent, she should be able to find there. Faint, but there, violets and almost coconut. That shouldn't be so faint, his scent. Her breath hitched and she swallowed thickly. Babe. Hey. You're supposed to wait, he mumbled. She huffed and smiled and reached out to slide his head. Those medical shitters left his face so wet and it reeked of medical supplies. His eyes closed as they remained locked in a boop. Was gonna ... you promised. It's okay, babe. She smiled into the boop. He was here. He was probably high off of his butt on painkillers, but he was here. Someone opened the flap and came in. Paranoia set in. They wanted to take him away. Wanted to send him out to fight. He wasn't ready SHT. She wasn't ready for him to fight again. Nope, they couldn't take him yet. They'd have to take her, too. Scoot over, she muttered, and he did. Despite the drag haze, he was still listening to her. B. Her doof growled as she climbed into the bed with him. Out. Why? It's not like you're gonna right? Yeah, definitely at the top of Luna's to-do list right now. Her injured boyfriend so that he was more injured. Didn't she get how serious this was? B. She growled and broke the boop for only a second just to tell her off. Just to send her away. Just to keep him safe. And he whimpered. Nope, Doof's comfort took priority over B's B-ness. She still had to say something though. Still had to get the sin out of here before she riled him up. Give us a few minutes, please. She didn't want to, it seemed, but Vortex got the message. He might be a total hot meathead, but he could read a room. Or at least, he understood what Luna was going through. She was glad her back was to them, and when the flaps ruffled again, she let her guard down. The tears swarmed. All of her relief, love, and worry poured out of her through her eyes. He sniffed the air and more focus came to his wonderful eyes. Loon, no. He cupped her cheek and she grabbed onto the hand there, held it against her face as their boop held strong. I'm here. Don't cry, babe. I'm okay. Just, a bit woozy. A bit woozy? She repeated around a small huff. Well, yeah. Turns out that getting impaled by angelic weapons after having a panic attack ain't so good on the heart. He had the gall to laugh. This idiot, she whined, and he sobered up. Blue eyes full and clear, a small smile on his face. Really, Loon? I'm okay. Don't cry. I'm not crying, I'm just so glad you're okay. Luna sniffled and stroked her boyfriend's bruised face with her thumb. His rumble was weaker than it should have been, and he leaned into her touch with a wince and she was going to cry. Again. This butt was so lucky she loved him, given all the times he's made her cry this month, let alone this week. She closed her eyes and furiously pushed down the tears, whines and whimpers her body wanted to let out. It was a losing battle. I don't ever scare me like that again. I'm sorry. His lips ghosted over hers. She pressed her lips back. Desperate to make him know, make him understand, just how this whole night was. Their lips parted and his claws pushed some of her hair aside. I love you, Loon. I love you, Doof. She snuck in over the vital machines and ignored the clean medical smell that clung to him as she tucked her head under his chin. His arms wrapped around her shoulders and she wrapped hers around his sides, careful of the fresh bandages that were put there. So much. They laid like that for several minutes. The comfort of holding each other and another boop was enough to calm her down. His claws stroked down her shoulders and she played with the patch of cream fur on his chest. His rumble was stronger, louder, and his heartbeat was steady. If his scent were just a bit stronger, her life would be so much better right now. Of course, the universe hated it when Luna was even slightly close to being content with life. The final is in an hour, Naruto muttered. Her claws tightened in his patch and he hissed, "Oh, Lune." "Sorry," she whimpered as she untangled her claws from his fur. "Can't you forfeit?" "No." He sighed and pressed his lips to the top of her head before he craned his neck to nuzzle against her face. She preened from the affection and her tail whapped into the bed. His claws grazed over her spot and her breath hitched. He almost brought them back for another slide before he stopped. "Lune, you remember how I tricked the sniper?" "Why would you bring that up right now?" she groaned as her head dropped into his shoulder. She just stopped thinking about that stupid day. She didn't want to think about that stupid day. "Because I might have to do it again. And I told you I'd try to warn you." "Hold on." Luna let her eyes squeeze shut before she pushed herself up to crouch over him. Her eyes locked with his and she bared her teeth. "Are you saying you could have done that at any time in the last fight?" Yes?" "Ah, yes." That was the look of her idiot when he realized he f up. "Let's see if he can figure out how." "Doof, be honest with me." Her eyes narrowed. "Can you make clones right now?" "Well, I've never experimented with them like that. Yes, I can make clones." He corrected himself. He should not be treating this like a joke. He just went into emergency surgery to recover from a death match when she snarled at him. His hands reached up and held onto her hips, kneading them gently, and it was almost enough to distract her. "Lune, please, please don't get mad. This is part of a plan. It's a very stupid one." "Yeah, but when two idiots are left unsupervised, what do you expect?" "Oh, he thought he was so effing funny." Her idiot just sealed someone's casket, and she might be in jail for murder before the end of the night. She leaned in with a growl and glared into his stupid pretty eyes. "Who's the other idiot?" "Dushifer." "God damn it." Her eyes closed and her growl stopped. She couldn't kill him, as much as she might want to at the moment. Wait, if they made a plan that might have accounted for her boyfriend to get as beaten as he did? No. No. This wasn't that kind of bait and trap. Lucifer didn't lock any of your abilities, did he? Please, 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 for the love of all that's evil, let her be wrong. Please. No. Naruto admitted softly, and Luna felt her anger flare before it was snuffed in the same second. The King of Hell almost signed Naruto's death warrant. He wants me to pull a fast one on the champion. That whole song and dance earlier was to trick him. Luna's growl turned into a whimper, and she gave her boyfriend another once-over. Bandaged, bedridden, and his scent was covered in antiseptic SHT. And that was against the new BLD. The champion was going to kill him before he got any tricks off. She couldn't watch that. Hey, he cupped her face. She looked him back in the eye as he smiled. "Lune, trust me. I'll be fine in 15-20 minutes tops. Sore as all but fine. They're giving us an hour. I'm telling you this now so you don't freak out. But you can't tell anyone. Not Blitzo, not the Wonder Duo, and especially not B." Luna knew why not to tell B. Her reaction to the fight would sell everything to the audience at home. To whoever the champion was. She nodded and lowered her nose down to meet his. Her eyes closed as their breathing balanced out together. "Promise me that you'll win, no matter what," she muttered. "You win. I don't care if it ruins Lucifer's plan. You win." If he lost, he was dead. Gone. No more boops. No more sec. No more kisses or hugs. No more doof. Luna can't go through that again. A month apart almost broke her. Did break her? She was fractured. Now, no more useful than a broken vase. She felt his lips press against hers before he pulled her down to lay atop him. His arms were around her again, hers tightened at his neck. His cool nose pressed to the base of her notched ear. I promise, Loon. Naruto's voice was soft, but there was a fire to it. A warmth that made her believe him. I'm gonna win. I swear to you, on my name, my house, on my entire being, I won't give up, I won't run away, and I won't ever break my word. That's my nindo, and let God himself smite me before I go against it. Huh, wowza. The four-eyed wine enthusiast seated at the bar at the end of the universe snorted awake and looked around. He was surrounded by emptied bottles of wine and one half-empty martini glass. He gulped the rest of that down and ate the olive before he scratched his head with the toothpick. Could have sworn someone feels like someone important botched a quote. I should check it out. Last call. Put your orders in. Last call. On the other hand, I can still smell color. He who held a hand up and grinned. Oh, bartender Tilda, I need a refill. An hour after his emergency surgery, 45 minutes after he told his girlfriend the plan so she didn't kill him after it went off, Naruto walked back out into the Colosseum's arena. His side ached slightly from where the blessed steel pierced his flesh, but thanks to the efforts of the top-tier Smeg team that was on call, he was more or less back to 100%. His now signature obsidian chain was wound around his torso in lieu of a new shirt that was Luna's idea. She said she liked it, so he went with it. He chose to ignore the fright-rousing leer she had when she told him it looked good and focused on the sweet memory of her good luck boop and embrace. A lethal combo, for sure. His chosen music blared and the audience roared as he walked out. He looked up at the Sins box B cheered and Oz whistled. Vortex and Oz's side piece. Is that a robot clown? Okay. Seemed to be doing the same. The short king wannabe gave him a wide grin, and he nodded, and then at the box adjacent to it, where Luna sat with Blitzo, Stolas' family, and the giant, thick, naked dragon lady. He held his gaze at the speck he recognized as his girlfriend, smiled, and then moved his right fist up towards her, bloody bandage still in place, to remind her of his promise. The natives went nuts while the hounds in the audience howled. Then, the champion walked out. No music. No fanfare. Just jeers and boos. Some threw garbage. Why did they? Naruto saw the video. That was actually Satan, the sin of wrath and father of imps, getting his F-butt handed to him in those clips. DMN, he had to beat this guy. It should be easy. He's only 12 feet of a giant beefcake minotaur who looked like he benched buses in his spare time, with a giant F-off axe on his shoulder. Got him, he towered over Naruto, which, not a strong feat, but SHT. He's big. Fighters, exchange your last pleasantries before you butcher each other. The announcer, Tim Tangelo or something, said over the cheers of the audience. The Minotaur, the champion, Aterius, cracked a smile and shifted where he stood. Antsy much? You're even more entrancing in person. What the F? That settles it. Before this night is over, I am going to F you. Got him it. Why does everyone get that wrong around me? Naruto groaned and rubbed his eye with his left middle finger before he put that hand on his hip. Look, beef stroganoff, it's I'm going to F you up. As in, the beatdown I will give you will leave you unrecognizable to your own descendants. Not I'm going to F you, like you're trying to come on to me. Which, retort number 1, flattered but not interested, because of retort number 2, I have a girlfriend, and she's the best F I've ever had. I hope she is ready to be disappointed when you don't return to her. Dude, seriously? Naruto shook his head and scratched his ear. That was so F-weak. Come on, man, I thought you were a champion or some SHT. Shouldn't you be? I dunno, F-decent at trash talk. No, I know what I said. You assume much. Allow me to clarify. The bull chuckled. His eyes blazed with an unbound dark leer, and OF that vibe was straight up lust. The fox fiend tensed and took a step back when Aterius visibly, salaciously licked and then bit onto his lip. Before the night is over, I am going to F you. I wait, do you mean? Naruto made a quick gesture with his fingers and the Minotaur nodded. The fox fiend's eyes went wide and his tail bristled. He and the douchifer never accounted for that. Oh, SHT. Fighters, you may kill, the crowd roared with the ring of a gong. A fair warning, the better you fight, the better I will F you. SHT, Naruto dove out of the way as the giant F-off axe slammed into the arena ground. He side jumped once, twice and slid back to keep a decent distance between it has a F energy attack. He dropped to avoid the vibrant pink slash that cut through the air and jumped to avoid the pulse that was kicked up towards him with an underhand swing. "Come, Duke of Gluttony," Atirius grinned as he held his axe at the ready. Another swing brought a vertical slash that sliced across the arena floor that the Fox Fiend sidestepped at the last second. "Come and fight me like your butt depends on it." For some reason, I get the strange feeling that it might. Naruto muttered to himself. He pulled the chain from his torso and held it in front of him in the middle. A quick chomp parted the chain into twain and he wound both lengths around either arm. He brought his fists together and glared at the champion as he put himself into a southpaw stance. "All right, Beef Wellington, you want a piece of me that bad? Come and get it." As the fight between the champion of Elysium and the Duke of Gluttony got underway, those with hearing good enough to catch the pre-battle banter started to murmur amongst their respective groups. Many wondered if all fights started with such SXL tension. Others were curious if that was going to be a stipulation for the victor. One such avid listener, who heard all of the banter and the commentary on it, sat in the Sin's box and had bitten through the shovel that was to be used to eat from the tub of popcorn in front of her. Did I hear him right?" Beelzebub asked. She shoved the remains of the tool in her hand into her mouth before she scented the air. Her right eye twitched and her claws dug into the remnants of the arms of her chairs. Lucy, this guy is leaking lust." "That's not all he's leaking," Ozzy muttered. "Unless he's trailing glitter from his chitin." "Oh, there's an idea." The robot sec imp snickered. "Okay, so Asterius is horny. What else is new?" Lucy asked. He leaned on the arm of his throne and used one hand to slide the stuffed duck in his lap. "B, if you try to go down there again, I'm putting the chains back on." "But..." B scowled as she sat back with two arms crossed while the other two took handfuls of popcorn. She absently shoved them into her mouth as she watched her baby bro deflect an axe swing with the chains he wrapped on his arms and then get knocked across the arena by a swing of the horny Minotaur's head. Ugh, she didn't want to watch this. It was already making her racked anxiety spike and her already endless hunger was becoming ravenous. Maybe if she just focused on baby bro? Yeah, that could work. She hummed around a mouthful of popcorn as baby bro slammed his wrapped fist into the rapey bull's face after avoiding another charge and ducked under the following swing of that giant axe. Baby bro wrapped in chains was a great mental image. Maybe if he had cuffs on his wrists and his arms were extended above him. A nice blue collar to bring his eyes out with a muzzle to make him listen. She bet she could teach Pretty Pup how to properly dom SHT. She didn't even have to bet Pretty Pup would look great in LTHR. There was that one Halloween pic on her gram from a few years back that she found. She should reintroduce that Pretty Pup to the world, or should she cuck baby bro by trying out the Pretty Pup first? Make him watch her pleasure that sweet little puppy's cute lips and tips. Yeah, that'd get him nice and riled up for a good rough F. She could edge him a bit first. These gluttonous lustful thoughts brought up an idea of what she could do with her boyfriend to get him a little more open to the idea of her new dream THRSM. B really didn't want to cheat on Tex and she really did love him. But again the usual route of his inclusion in this sort of thing was kind of axed when baby bro beat her in a fight. Whereas before the loss she could just tell him they were gonna F and SWCH partners, now he had ground to stand on to refuse her. Ugh, DMN's sinful instincts, it made coordinating some hot pseudo-incestual should be actual NCST. F that would be so much hotter for B sexy times more difficult than it needed to be. Hey, Tex, what's your opinion on cuckolding? Wah, babe, I actually kind of want to watch this. He shifted in his seat. Well, that was honest, but the vibes he let off after her question made her arch a brow. She knew Vortex was kind of a sub in bed with her, anyway. But she's a Sin, so she gets it. But that rich of a sweet and sour vibe seemed excessive for him. Was unholy SHT? Was Vortex into cuckolding? F. That opened a whole new can of worms for B to explore. Oh, F, Ozzy gasped and covered his prime head's mouth. B looked back down at the arena and all thoughts of sec dashed from her mind. The rapey bull stood with his axe raised while baby bro stumbled away, a hand over his right shoulder. Why was it? SHT, that's a lot of BLD. How deep was the cut? Baby bro's right arm was on the ground. Her baby bro's right arm was on the ground. B. Stay. Lusai's order was not to be disobeyed. She knew that. But her baby bro's right arm was on the ground. Jeers exploded from around the ring, and the walking stake to be ignored them. He stalked forward and reached out to grab baby bro, who'd gone fetal with his ears flat and tail curled, and he was missing his arm. Game, set, match. Lusai chuckled. He leaned forward and put his hands on both B's and Ozzy's shoulders. They froze, unable to move, but could still see and hear everything around them. You two are going to love this. Sit tight and enjoy. Lucifer, boss, come on, Ozzy grunted. I know you and Naru baby don't see eye to eye, but... His arms on the ground. B whimpered. She snarled and felt her spicy nature bubble to the surface. Baby bro. I said sit. Lusai was on his feet and standing between them. He walked in front of B and bent forward. His eyes met hers and his saccharine smile was on his face. B, am I a liar? She didn't say anything until he grinned at her. You may speak, Beelzebub. Yes, Lusai. She bared her teeth at him. You're a liar. That's right, very good. He nodded and stood upright. He straightened his jacket and spun on the ball of his feet. He rested his hands on his cane and stared down at the fight. They don't call me Honorable Haley, the rimjob king of Guantanamo Bay. They call me the actual devil from the Bible. On my house, Lucifer Morningstar, no, on my sin. B growled. If you don't let me up and make me watch my baby bro bleed out. Let me cook, B. Let me cook. They call me the devil, but I met the devil. He chuckled. He was a little SHT that liked to stick bubblegum in Charlie's hair. After she dumped his bowl of ramen. B grumbled and snarled when Lusai whirled on her with fire in his eyes. That was a accident and you know it. Bullshit. How do you accidentally spill someone's food? Okay, let's table that century-old beef, guys. Naru baby needs moral support and boss was going somewhere with his monologue, Ozzy said. B growled, but let her mouth click shut and Lusai huffed as he reverted. Yes, fine. Thanks, Oz. He fixed his jacket. Where was I? Ah, right, the devil. He was a little brat that liked to throw PSS balloons at Mammon's concert. He's a little lying who never gave 110% in anything he did down here, because he couldn't afford to risk it. Risk what? Ozzy asked. Lusai hummed. Losing the only thing he ever wanted. He tapped his cane onto the ground and held the microphone that it had become up to his lips. Brat. Asterius turned and snorted up at them in disdain while baby bro's ear flicked back to them. He was still hunched over, still holding his shoulder, still bleeding. B needed to get him the F out of there. Lusai's next words were accompanied by another chuckle. Naru Elzebub, you have my permission to retaliate. He snapped his fingers and thumb laughed again. A sinister smile was on his face. Don't have too much fun. Asterius' head tilted in confusion. Baby bro and his arm exploded into a rainbow cloud and confetti. Well, all right then. What the F was that little going on about? Bah, no matter, I have a duke to dominate. He never cared for Lucifer's demands, and the few he did follow aligned with his own wants in a way. So, ignoring the king he'd sworn fealty to if only to get a chance at a rematch against his cheating beach of a dragon, Asterius sought out his trophy as the smoke cleared. The amputation could be fixed with time, and he was sure to only crack the muzzle, not break it. The breaking could come once his stick got into the trophy's throat. Come out, Duke. Hiding is a cowardly tactic. I hadn't thought you capable of it, he jeered. A shift of stone and gravel behind him and him whirl around and slice down. A vertical energy slash rocketed out and dissipated before it hit the stone wall. He huffed. The longer you hide, the harder I'll PMD you. Phrasing echoed from around him. The imp's there? No, that was the Duke. Did he throw his voice? How did he make it sound like there were multiples of him? Asterius snorted and lowered his axe. Perhaps if he feigned lowering his guard. Now. Aha, there you. Asterius blinked as two duplicates of the Duke ran at him. He'd read about and seen footage of the Duke's duplication ability, but to actually see it in action. Breathtaking. They moved in perfect sync, both arms intact. How did he manage that? Was it all a ruse? No, the BLD splatter on the ground was still there. This was too confusing. He'd get his answer after he took the Duke's butt clustered over a glowing orb in one's hand. Ah, yes. He almost forgot they were fighting. Rasengan. He named it? That's just adorable. Ah, Asterius was reminded of his first bout with Zabuza. The Oni liked to name his attacks, too. He'd disperse the attack with his axe, just as he'd shattered the Oni's BSTRD sword. His axe came down as the Duke's attack pressed into the edge. A stalemate? The Duke bared fangs at him. That toothy mouth was going to feel amazing on his thick girth and held his wrist steady while the doppelganger kept him anchored. Asterius fought not to bite his lip, his length strained against where he taped it to his thigh. This little Duke was just so enticing. The Duke and his doppelganger blanched before they both suddenly jumped back. The rasengan dissipated from existence and Asterius' swing went through to the ground. That's annoying, it stuck. No matter, he released the handle and started to approach the gagging duo. That wonderful image didn't help with his straining loins. He didn't need his axe for this. Dude, you need to rein in your F-horny. The Duke's clone snapped as he pointed at the champion. This is a F-fight, not a F-fight. Ugh, it's in my eyes, the Duke whimpered and rubbed at his face. That's so effin' foul, man. If there was anything that Succubus got right during her bout with you. Asterius rumbled as he lowered over the two identical lean and lithe fox fiends. It's that you're so F-adorable. Okay, no HMO, but F you, Bifsilla. Maybe if you behave really well. He smirked. The twins' faces went flat and they shared a look. He wondered what that was about. Have a taste of infinite torment. A third duplicate chirped from behind Asterius before the most incredible, unbelievable and indescribable pain shot up from his SCRTM. Something pierced his flesh, right in the taint. He was paralyzed by pain for the first time in his long eternal life. Kano Hagakir Haiden Teijutsu Ogi, Senin Goroshi. There was a small poof and the presence behind him was gone. The twin fox fiends in front of him flipped up all four of their middle fingers. Boom, beach. They sneered before they went up in smoke and something smelt like burning meat. Wait, there was a sharp stinging down where he'd been stabbed, too. What was? Boom. Asterius blinked away stars and pushed himself off from where he landed on his face. Oh, his butt felt like it was on fire. His PP burned like the time he stuck it in that child of Hephaestus. His TSTCLS he couldn't feel them. What? Ah, he understood now. He'd been neutered via explosion. Well, there was only one appropriate way to respond to this. Zeus throne, the champion shrieked as he curled in on himself and cupped the space his too full and swollen ball once dangled from. SHT and his wonderful length had almost been burnt, if not for the tape that kept it from harm's way. Oh, Asterius was going to bust open this little SHT's butt so F-strong. A clawed foot stepped into his line of sight, and he followed it up to the fox fiend's sneering face. You dishonorable little SHT! He growled and pushed himself to a knee. One hand remained cupped over his crotch while the other kept him steady. What kind of warrior puts an explosive on their enemy's SCRTM? Any F-ninja worth their salt. The fox fiend deadpanned before he popped out of existence. What the F was? Asterius' jaw was just forcibly closed by the uppercut that suddenly exploded out of the arena floor, followed swiftly by the body of his opponent. His head snapped back, and he teetered before gravity won out, and he collapsed. His crown cracked into the pavement and SHT. He bit through his tongue. He cupped his profusely bleeding jaw and tried to keep his head as he recoiled on the cool stone of the arena floor. Keep calm, don't lose your temper. Think of the F you're going to put this smarmy little SHT through. Think of how tight his butt will feel around your PP. How good it will feel to force him to gargle your regenerated ballsack. Asterius huffed and snorted and tried to ignore the disgusting metallic taste that filled his mouth. Another digitigrade foot appeared in his line of sight, and its twin slammed into his chest. He grunted as his sternum cracked. How did someone so F-small and tight hit so F-strong? Quake. The snarl echoed before the ground rumbled beneath him. Asterius' eyes widened as he recognized the simple spell for what it was. The arena splintered into his back and he slumped into a crevasse. His ankle was caught by one crack, dangerously close to being severed if the forced hellquake had gone on any longer. Asterius put his hands on the ground in an attempt to pry himself free. The digitigrade foot pushed down on his cracked sternum, and his attempt to free himself was thwarted. Narrow white eyes stared down at him, his muzzle curled to expose large fangs. The tail behind him whipped about like a furious serpent. The fangs gleamed as his lips pulled up into a smirk. What was? No. No, he wouldn't. It was to be a fight they shared, not physical torment. He didn't even plan to maim him earlier, not that that had stuck. Aftershock. Another rumble brought the slabs of earth around his ankle together. Asterius was unable to withhold the scream that escaped him. And the audience of imps reveled in his misery with cheers. Octavia had never seen her former bodyguard look so malicious before. Granted, she'd only known him for a week, and the rest she knew about him came from either his Voxtagram account or his girlfriend's, but still. She thought she had a read on the type of guy he was. A strong goofball, sure, but a goofball all the same. Clearly, she wasn't alone with those thoughts, as her mother found her voice. He has access to disaster magic, Mother squawked. Okay, yeah, reasonable response, Octavia would agree, but was the loudness of it necessary? Itachi put a comforting hand on her arm and she relaxed. Having him around really helped alleviate her stress. It would appear so, darling. Father added the last bit, almost as an afterthought. Octavia looked back at him to see him watching the fight with a very obvious amount of interest. He tapped his beak. I wonder if perhaps he'd be willing to be a tutor for Tavia rather than a protector. Don't you even think about it, Stolas. The imp that was causing her parents' marriage to fall apart and consequently ruin Octavia's life growled. Octavia chanced a glance back at him and watched him cross his arms. It's bad enough he interrupted forced family fun. Interrupted? He spared me any more of this rodeo CRP. Naruto's girlfriend with good taste SHT, what's her name? Luna? That sounded right, but something didn't. Oh yeah, 2 O's instead of a U. Luna scoffed and watched the absolute slaughter this fight had become with a smirk. Her tail kept wagging. Ugh, was it wrong Octavia wanted a tail like that? It was way prettier and more useful than her drab as feathers, and she bit on her lip. Although maybe later I'll have my own rodeo. Okay? As the imp that her father started to complain about Luna's love life, which was just kind of extremely sad, Octavia looked back at her seat-wise companions to see their reaction. Itachi's expressionless face remained the same, but the more excitable and influenceable child on Octavia's other side. Mommy, can I do that one day? Satina asked. She stood and bounced on her seat as Naruto held Asterius by his horns, before he drove his knee into his bloody face. Yeesh, overkill much? The denizens of Wrath in attendance along with little Satina threw their arms up and cheered. Yeah, hit him again, hit him again. Oh, no, Satina had those 2 pure stars in her eyes and that unreasonably bright smile again. SHT, but SHT, but. Please, Miss Lucia, say no. Don't let this goofball's bloodlust corrupt. We'll see, sweetie. Damn it. Octavia groaned and looked at her quiet friend for some support. His eyes were narrowed as he watched the Minotaur get a horn snapped off. Naruto has really changed, Itachi muttered. He snorted and shook his head when the horn was jammed into the Minotaur's clavicle and the champion roared in anguish. Acts even more like Obasan now. Itachi, do you know him? Octavia asked. He glanced at her. A brief widening of his eyes told her he hadn't expected to be heard. Before they relaxed, he looked back down at the fight and a small smile crossed his face. We met once. It was a brief encounter. Is that a joke? Yes. You crack jokes, she teased. He gave her a sidelong glare and huffed before he looked back down at the arena. Enjoy the fight, Princess Octavia. I believe it is almost over. The second he got the official go-ahead, Naruto went all out. He made a promise, and he would deliver on it. Not to mention, taking all those hits and hiding in an unstable transformation jutsu after coming out of surgery left him a bit winded. Or maybe it was the popped stitches. Probably the latter. Regardless, he really had to get back to training on the regular. This was only a half-hour bout. He shouldn't be this winded. Then again, his disaster magic always took a lot out of him. That would be the first thing he had to work on then. No more. Please, no more. The champion that basically threatened his butt whimpered and tried to crawl away. His legs were broken in various places. His right hoof hung on by threads and the left knee was shattered. Blood flowed from various wounds across his torso, though most pooled from his mouth. I yield, I yield. Naruto made 2 clones and whistled as he pointed at the myth-turned-whimpering demon. They went over and grabbed the beaten champion's arms and hauled him up. He walked up and unwound the bit of chain on his arm and tied it in a loose noose around Asteria's neck. Then, he grabbed the Minotaur's horn and tilted his head back. If it were up to me, I'd take this horn and shove it up your butt until it touched the other one. Naruto growled as he tugged on the growth. Asterius whimpered, and he had good reason to, given that the other horn in question was still impaled in his chest behind his clavicle. TCH, typical. Beat a demon to a bludgeon balloon and they just wave it off as luck. But you blow a demon's scrot off with a small explosion and they become little beaches. He pushed the horn away as he backed up, the other end of the chain noose in his hand. Any last words? How are you? How are you so strong? There were many ways Naruto could have answered that question. He could have been honest. He could have lied. He could have turned it into a diatribe or monologue about his sheer awesomeness. Instead, he went with one word. One word to describe how he became the demon he was today. Ramen. Then, he looked up at the sins box and raised his thumb up. This was justice. This was the sort of order he was meant to keep in hell. This was the type of violence his people in pride flocked to and coveted. They would never see it if he could manage it. If they ever had to see it. Well, Charlie had best be out of the ring. Unless she was the one in trouble. Lucifer smiled. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't kind. It wasn't cruel. It was the smile of an apex predator. The smile of the cat that cornered a wingless canary. Of a shark that decimated a school of fish. Of a snake that captured a lost rodent. If Lucifer was the mind of the apex predator, then Naruto was the poisoned fang. Everything had gone, mostly, according to plan. The brat getting impaled by a carmine-crafted trident was a bit of a hiccup. But hey, he got to see a VERYYYY Mayday concert for the first time, and for free, too. Good thing, because she's not as good as Lilith, but hardly anyone was. Regardless, he lifted his staff to his lips. Finish it. Tough luck, shithead. Naruto dropped his thumb down and the crowd roared. He tugged the noose so that it tightened around Asteria's neck. Once that happened, the Minotaur blinked out of his stupor, and he struggled to break free. No, this wasn't supposed to end like this. I was supposed to win. I can't be beaten. You can't do this to me. I am the champion of Elysium. I am the original monster of myth. No. Well, I am doing this to you. See, Lucifer up there? The Dichi with the white hat? He knows you're not doing your job right. And me and let's call him a friend, my old friend, Zabuza? You might remember him. He and I made let's call it a deal. Naruto turned to the Colosseum's entryway. A thick icy mirror covered the gate that was there and 2 demons walked out. One was an Oni and the other. Actually, Naruto wasn't sure what the other was. It was definitely related to ice somehow. How did that get out? Moffaf, did you not listen to a word I said? Naruto asked. He pulled on the chain and the Minotaur choked. Lucifer knows what you did. All of it. I don't. But given how you talked to me when we met for the first time, what the is wrong with you? I can guess. Anyway, when he made a deal with me to ensure you got your butt handed to you, I added a few stipulations. Some were personal. I'll admit I had to make it up to my girl for being gone for so long. Somehow others were mutually beneficial. We'll take it from here, kid. Whatever. Naruto dropped the chain, let his clones dispel and looked up at the Jumbotron. He waved up at it and gestured for them to come down. Instead of the sinner, he really didn't want to interact with thank F he got a microphone. Honestly, so much better. He tapped the mic and held it to his mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary specimen. I, Duke Naruto, am utilizing my right as a house demon to give my slot to Zabuza the Oni. I, Lucifer Morningstar, King of Hell, recognize this substitution and allow it. Oh, thank F. He was officially off script at this point. Thankfully, the crowd roared their approval. It wasn't too surprising. Zabuza was a fan-favorite competitor over the years, and his connection to Lucifer was well known. I've had a great time tonight, but I've got better SHT to do than kill a bunch of assholes for bragging rights. Zabuza, he's all yours. With that, Naruto ate the microphone and activated a house seal on the ground. He turned around to give Asterius a final pair of middle fingers. Deuces, douchebag. Then fell back into the portal and dipped out. It was nice to see Naruto again. I'm glad he seems to be doing well. That's great, Haku. Freeze him. You ungrateful honorless wretch. Asterius sneered at the Oni as his arms, legs and torso were frozen. Zabuza cracked his neck and lined the Kubikirabacho up with the Minotaur's frozen shoulder. He raised it up and brought it down. The shoulder and limb attached to it shattered. Gah! 473. Zabuza growled as he dragged Kubikirabacho across the ground to rest it over his shoulders again. That's the amount of times you F me in the past week. I'm about to pay you back with interest, F'er. And when I'm done, I'm gonna mount your head. On a wall? That's not what I said. Zabuza grinned beneath his bandaged mouth. Haku fix him. The arm reformed, still frozen, and Asterius' eyes went wide. The Oni's eyes blazed red, and he chuckled. 472 more limbs to shatter. He chuckled darkly as he took hold of his sword in both hands once more. Then we'll see how you handle being a eunuch. A portal swirled into existence in the hall of the Colosseum. Naruto stepped out of it and leaned outside of a box section. He reached into his pocket and pulled his phone out. A quick selfie with the Victory Gang sign was taken before he sent it with a message. Promise kept. Wanna go destroy my hotel room? F yes. Be there in 5. He grinned and pocketed his phone. He crossed his arms and waited not even a full minute before the sweet vanilla scent he loved reached his nose. His arms opened and the offered embrace was welcomed eagerly. A soft pair of lips pressed against his and their tongues immediately clashed. His loss this time, the tie broken, and he let her explore. They parted with eager huffs of breath and brought their snouts together. Boop. You did so good. Luna cooed at him and F if that didn't get the wriggler going. Her claws came up to scratch at his spots. So F good. Good doof. That is not hot, Naruto whined and panted as he was pushed up against the wall. His wonderfully evil girlfriend chuckled and pecked the tip of his nose before she initiated another boop. You're a SHT liar? She hummed as she started teasing him with boop-connected kisses. F, that wasn't fair. She can't scratch his spots and tease him with kisses and a boop. But I'll be keeping you. Loon, he whined. No more talking. Doof. Hotel. Now. He'd never opened a house seal faster in his F-life. Well, that was a great showing. Saw the kidnapping F get his butt kicked, lose an arm, pass out, and then beach out of the final fight. Blitzo grinned and stretched his arms above him as down in the arena. A very pissed-off Oni went ham on his brutal and very public skull F, SHT. He had to readjust himself a bit. These were not the type of pants he could have a serious Irkton with. Oh, F yeah, and then there's this hot piece of butt absolutely dominating that bowl. SHT, I need to come to Wrath more often. Midshim. Stolas let out a tight squeak. Huh, wonder what that's about. Meh, not important. Blitzo looked up the aisle. Looney went up to get to the bathroom. It's been over 40 minutes. Was she actually doing something in a stall? Well, she'd better hurry the F up and pinch it off or something. He was getting horny and needed to get on the road so he could meet up with Stolas later. He had some stress he needed to relieve himself of. Mommy, look it, cried the little naked thing that was sitting beside Stolas' weirdo angsty kid clearly. She takes after her beach mother, that one and her imp servant. The little naked Blitzo hesitated to call her an actual child. He'd never seen a kid that fugly outside of human brats. And the occasional fish-lipped F-tard thing pointed up and away from the arena. It's Queen B. Queen WH? Oh, SHT. What in the ever FF does she want over here? Blitzo fought down the instinct to draw his pistols at the fox like Sin. It's not the kidnapper F, don't shoot. It's not the kidnapper F, don't shoot. It's not the kidnapper F, don't shoot. And made sure not to draw attention to himself. He remembered their last interaction, and he wants in no way to risk a repeat of it. Queen Beelzebub. The sexy thick dragon that Stolas Beach seemed to be interested in greeted the Sin with a nod. Was there something we could help you with? Huh, nah, I'm good. Just came over to hi. The Sin's voice rose in pitch as she zipped down to crouch in front of the red little naked troglodyte. She cooed and scratched the thing under her chin. "Oh, who is this precious little monster?" "I'm Satina, Christ on a stick," it had a name. "Hi, Satina, I'm B. Oh, you're so cute." The Sin cooed what the F and rubbed her face against the thing's neck. The thing giggled and reached out to gently slide the Sin's fur on her muzzle. "F, that child was dead or not. You're so pretty." "Well, thank you. I think you're pretty, too." The Sin grinned and two of her arms started to tickle the little beast while her eyes roamed the seats. Her smile dimmed into a frown. "Ha hey, Satina." "Yeah, B." "Satina," Stolas kid hissed. Blitzo saw Beach Bird preen out of the corner of his eye while the sexy thick dragon harumphed. "Manners." "Ah, she's fine." The Sin waved it off as one hand scratched the brat under its chin again. "Unless it's really heinous SHT, anyone under 18 gets a pass by me. It ain't their fault if their parents are dipshits. My daddy says that's a naughty word." "Your daddy sounds like a pretty smart guy." Beelzebub smirked and then gestured at the crowd. "Say, cutie pie, I'm looking for someone and I can't find them. Did you happen to see them?" "Who you looking for?" "A very pretty hellhound named—" "You mean Miss Luna?" Satina tilted her head. "Okay, what the F? When did this little freak of nature meet his precious loony?" "That's the one. You seen her?" Beelzebub grinned. "F, no, not again. This Sin can't have his baby girl. She was doing lady business things in the bathroom. Not for a long time. She said she had to, she said she had to go take a bad word at the potty." "Mommy, can I say the bad word?" The brat looked at the sexy thick dragon. "I'd much rather you didn't." Sexy thick dragon deadpanned. The child pouted. "That's okay, I can guess which bad word it is." Beelzebub chirped and patted the STD's little freak of a child on the head, which made her preen at the touch, before she stood up and clapped two of her forearms together. They spread apart and sweet merciful F, that was massive. "Thanks for your help, Satina. Here, have this for being so helpful." "Woo-oh!" The little beast gawped at the massive cone that held a colorful swirl of cotton candy. She turned to the Gosha teen next to her, who stared at the confection in unabashed horror. Look, Octi, look what Queen Bee gave me." "Yeah, that's wonderful, Satina." Stola's brat faked a smile and then whimpered when the little creature took a monstrous bite of the fluffy sugar concoction. The imp servant beside her was rubbing his temples with one hand. "She won't sleep at all tonight." STD grumbled into a clawed hand. The hand dragged down her face and then landed on her hip. "Thank you, Queen Bee." "Not a problem, Lucia." Wow, that totally flew over her head. What a ditz. Good thing that Blitzo was smarter than her. Why was she still here? The Sin sighed and scratched her cheek. "Bummer that pretty pup ducked out already. I wanted to ask if she would come back with me and baby bro tonight." "She didn't duck out." Blitzo huffed. "She's in the bathroom." "Right, and I'm still an anal version after 10 millennia." The Sin snorted what the F is that supposed to mean and then looked down at him. F. That was recognition in her eyes. Damn it, he had to go and open his big mouth. Her eyes narrowed. "Wait, I remember you. You're the little SHT heel that shot at me." "Blitzy." "You did what?" Stolas and his daughter's imp SLV poor little mind-controlled BSTRD shrieked in horror. "Oh, for the love of everything evil, I was trying to protect my sweet little loony from another abduction." He glared at the Sin, who arched one of her antennae like eyebrows. "She's been abducted before? What the F does?" "Right, B signs off on adoptions and caretakers." Blitzo really had to shut up. Like he really had to shut the F up. Beelzebub crossed all four of her arms and got in his face. "Sounds to me like you're an SHT hound dad. Maybe I should make a home life check." "Go ahead." A very familiar set of talons wrapped around his mouth. "I do apologize for my bodyguard's behavior." "Stolas, what the F?" He wasn't going to be, oh, wait, he's covering Blitzo's butt. He is referring to her 21st birthday, Queen Beelzebub. Whereupon she spent the night in Pentagram City and met your brother. "Hold up, the pretty pup and baby bro met on her birthday?" The Sin squealed and then gasped. "Wait, she's the one that got drunk with him?" "Oh, F yes, I knew he'd find a rebound after being rejected." This beach was determined to get on his nerves, wasn't she? Blitzo's brow twitched and hold on. Did she say the kidnapper was rejected? Ha! He knew that didn't have game. Looney must have made a drunk bet or something. Wow, that sounded like he was reaching. Blitzo didn't reach, he was better than that. Hang on, but if they met on her birthday, why does he think? Beelzebub looked down at him. Her eyes were glowing, her body started to turn red. You think my baby bro is a hound snatcher? He needed to stop talking. He did not have enough in his arsenal right now to deal with. Tilde o-e-o-o-o-o-o-o-o a tilde 1 tilde o-e-o-o-o-o-o-o a tilde. Eyes were on the half-transformed Sin, who growled. She poked Blitzo with a claw as big as his entire body. Yep, that's a positive. He pissed himself just now and her eyes narrowed. Don't you move? She shrank down to her normal stature, glare still locked on the imp, as she reached into her pocket and pulled a ringing phone out. She accepted the call and her pissed-off features made a complete 180. Baby bro, terrific, it's the kidnapper. Hey, Vortex and I were just gonna swing by your hotel room and surprise why. Oh yeah, no, that's cool. No, I get it. TLC, Lucy made you do a bunch of SHT. Nah, I'll be alright. Vortex and I have to talk about something anyway, so that's probably for the best. None of your beeswax, that's what, alright. Well, I guess I'll see you Tomer. He has you doing what? Blitzo should probably stop listening at this point. Beelzebub looked ready to murder someone. He sought protection from behind Stolas, but was caught on the horn by a thin clawed hand. His head was pushed back to look up at the demonic prince of gluttony, who glared down at him. She bared her teeth and he gulped. Right. No moving. For who? Baby bro. The alright, nope, that settles it. You're going on stay Katayan after. Because I said so, that's why, see? Pretty pup agrees with me, SHT. She can join us. Don't worry about that, I'll take care of it. The Sin pursed her lips and glared at Blitzo again. Her muzzle curled and her grip tightened on his horn. Then she released him with a shove. RRG. Fine, but you owe me, haven't decided yet, you too. Have a good night, baby bro, you earned it. Give the pretty pup my love. She hung up and glared at Blitzo again. Luna's with baby bro, they won't be disturbed. She growled. Blitzo's gut instinct was to lie, then hunt the effer down, but that was a murderous female staring him in the eye. That was the sort of look Looney had when she had her first hangover at home and he didn't treat it seriously. Right, he nodded. Good. Beelzebub looked at Stolas and his beach wife next. Her lip curled as she looked between them and if Blitzo didn't feel a major difference between the glare he got and the glare they got. If anything happens to baby bro tomorrow. What? Wasn't your idea then? Never mind, I gotta go beach at our king. She scoffed and her wings started to buzz as she rose up. She stopped and waved down at the little red mongrel with a smile on her face. Bye-bye, Satina. Bye, Queen Bee. The little creature waved and then gasped when Stola's child nudged her. Oh, right. Thanks for the candy. Anytime, sweetie, Beelzebub beamed before she glared back at the rest of them. She gave them a pointed warning She made the fingers to the eyes and back gesture. The worst gesture to receive from anyone with a grudge against you and then flew off. Blitzo sighed and then doubled over to hold his knees. Stolas patted his back. Are you okay, Blitzy? No. Pretty sure that I'm gonna puke. Part of it was the ungodly fear that overcame him when Beelzebub glared at Stolas. The rest came from the realization that Looney lied to him to sneak out. Worse yet, he had to let Luna's disappearance tonight slide. It could literally be his life on the line if he didn't. He really hoped she didn't do anything that he would do. Wrath didn't have a lot going for it in terms of tourist attraction. Given that most imps that lived in the ring were either farmers or mercenaries, it wasn't too surprising that it had nothing special for other species of hellborn. Conversely, however, the party animal nature of hellhounds found the ring enticing as a place to set up shop, as it were. That leads us to the Shelter, a 4-star hotel in Wrath built up and owned by hellhounds. Well, it was owned by the House of Elzebub, but that was a technicality. Anyway, the penthouse of the Shelter was the equivalent of a nice 2-room, 2-bath apartment in Pride, and it was often reserved for important individuals, that is, those with money or clout. Luckily for Luna, her boyfriend was both, especially since his showing earlier that night. Their arrival at the shelter had caused a howl to erupt from the staff, something Luna had only heard about on her Voxtagram feed, and more than one member tried to slow them down by request for an autograph. It took an agonizing 10 minutes, with 3 of those minutes dedicated to a quick phone call to keep B from walking in on them. 5 minutes dedicated to an elevator ride that involved a quick heavy petting session that might have classified as second base. And the rest used to get the staff to calm the F down and leave them alone since their arrival before Naruto finally ripped her clothes off and F her in the penthouse suite's living room. The cleaning staff was not going to love them after they left, and if they did, then they were a bunch of freaks. Naruto. Luna moaned as her boyfriend's lips teased her skin and her claws gently traced over the new scars that lined his shoulders. They finished their first round not too long ago, and now that he was untied from her, they were starting on round 2, and it was a slow burn. She ground her wet folds up into his hot pee-pee, a need to have him inside her again. His cooler nose pressed into the base of her neck, and she gasped when he nipped at it. Her eyes squeezed shut and her claws dug into his skin. Oh, yes. Loon. His return was, as always, done with her favorite growl. She didn't know when he figured out that she had a favorite, but she'd bet any amount of money that her vibes gave it away. A clawed hand cupped her left melons and her back arched up into it while the other claw ghosted along her stomach to her folds. She whined magic hands he might have, but she wanted to be filled by his wonderful pee-pee again, and he nipped the other side of her neck. My sweet, cute loon. My dirty, sexy doof. She huffed around a bite on his ear as he growled into her throat. She released the ear before her claws coasted up his sexy shoulders, then the fluffy neck, to cup his jaw and bring his talented mouth back up to hers for another embrace. This one was deep and passionate, but she ended it before another tongue war ensued. Her thinner organ flicked out to graze his snout, and she smiled at him through half-lidded eyes. Hey, wanna make another stream? Stream? He blinked, and the darkened lust in his appealing eyes dissipated. His brow furrowed in that adorably confused way. So cute, she couldn't resist giving him a gentle embrace that he met and returned. DMN. His lips were as good if not better than a cigarette. That seemed to jumpstart his brain kisses equal brain power for doof. A little fact she filed away for potential later use as when their lips parted again. He seemed to catch on to her plan. You want to make another sex stream? Michem? She started to embrace down his muzzle. He rumbled and leaned into her gestures of affection. Okay, same thing. No. She nipped his lip as her tail swoosh swoosh swooshed. She ground against his strong pee-pee and smirked at his whine. She planted an embrace at the base of his jaw, just below his spot, and hummed when the wriggler thwaped into her leg. She pulled away and pushed her nose to the base of her chew toy. A quick nip preceded her whispered idea. Unholy. He whined again and his claws squeezed her hips. F. Are you sure? Absolutely, 100%. She nibbled on her chew toy for a minute until he growled at her again. You kicked so much F-butt tonight, you earned a reward. Even if it was part of a stupid plan? Doof brain strikes again. She could get upset at him for bringing that up, but it was part of a deal he made with Lucifer after the king took him away from her, so... Yeah, no, Luna would rather focus on dealing with her growing lust. You kept your promise, that's all I care about. The emanation from her phone had VERYYYY break the embrace she was sharing with Milky. With both of them single and drunk, a bit of a playful makeout session was inevitable. Especially after the successful and fun show they had earlier. Panting after their lips part, VERYYYY picked up the phone and... Moonlight_howling_666 started streaming. Oh, Morgan SCK me dry. It's Blitzo's little beach kid again. The pop star frowned. She started streaming. Ooh, another sec tape? Milky leaned against her and hummed. You wanna watch it together? Beats watching it alone this time, I think. She sighed and opened the link. They cuddled together on the bus couch and she turned her phone. Immediately, she was rewarded with a great close-up shot of B's little brother's face. Okay, we're, live, I think, he muttered. Well, he wasn't wrong. That's a live button there in the top corner. Why was he holding the camera? Remind me to teach you how to use a phone. The hellhound said dryly off-screen. I know how to use a phone, F. That was a cute pout. His ears perked up and his eyes widened. Whoa, what's with all the emojis flying up the screen? Have you ever watched a stream before? No, because I have better things to do with my time. Like what? Train, clean, train, eat ramen, train, work, F you. Okay, point taken. The little beach snorted. That would be the chat. Just minimize it for now. Right, SHT, VERYYYY bit her lip. Milky giggled and did the same. Ah, how do? Oh, Asmodeus F me, he's just so F adorable when he's clueless. Her plump pal cooed. VERYYYY sighed. I know, right? You're such a doof. A dark claw blocked the camera before it vanished and showed the hunky duke as his ears folded back. He was scowling at Blitzo's brat. Was there trouble in paradise? Don't call me that on camera, no. A dark set of claws on a white furred hand pulled at the thick chain collar that sunk into the fur around his neck until a shorter gray and white muzzle was visible. It pushed up against the hunks and their lips met in unison. Their lips molded together over and over and over and F. VERYYYY could already see the hate posts show up. She was half tempted to leave one. This was just bragging. My doof. The hellhound growled once the embrace broke. She turned the camera to look her in the eye. Which, okay, yeah. Beach had very hot, I'll kill you before I F you eyes. Hear that, F'ers. This idiot is mine and I'm his. In case the last F stream didn't get it to sink in. Yeah, brag about it later, get to the good SHT already. Oh, come on, V. Didn't you ever find a F you thought was the one? Milky asked with a coo before she froze. VERYYYY stared at her. Did she seriously just? Wow. Just wow. Oh, SHT, sorry. FN thanks, Milky. Now I'm really not in the mood. VERYYYY scowled and turned her phone off. She got off of the couch and went to the fridge to pull out a bottle of beer. I'm going back to my room for a bit. V, wait, I really am. Milky, I'm too pissed and not F drunk enough. Just save it. VERYYYY went into her on-bus bedroom. She shut the door, cracked the bottle open and started to chug mid-stride until she got to her bed and fell on it. She glared at the F mistake of a tattoo on her arm visible in the overhead mirror. I F hate you, Blitzo. She thought as her eyes burned, and she took another swig of her booze. 5 minutes into the bender, she turned the stream back on and watched the little goth beach start to go down on a thick, long, dark crimson rocket. Her eyes squeezed shut and her tail drifted up between her legs as she started to indulge herself with a little revenge fantasy that may or may not involve a good ding from that same rocket in the office of a certain imp butt ex-boyfriend. F. Hate you. She grumbled and took another swig before she really started to go to town on herself. F. Loon. Naruto growled and let his head tilt back as he leaned against the dining table that was in the hotel room. He glanced back down at the sight of his girlfriend sucking lewdly on his PP. His eyes darted over to look at her phone, set on a stand that was built into the case that was recording them. His claws raked over her hair and he pushed her back so that she'd meet his eyes. Mwah! A glistening line of spittle kept her muzzle and his PP connected. She grinned up at him and her gorgeous red eyes gleamed with lust. Her hands wrapped around his member as best they could. They stroked and twisted with each jerk, and she put her cheek up against it. How's that, baby? Does it feel good? F amazing, he breathed. His claws traced around her notched ear, and she growled before she gave him a subtle nod. She took his PP back into her mouth, and he balled his claws in her hair. Her tail swoosh swoosh swooshed behind her, raised slightly, but out of the camera's eye. The raised tail reminded him of the tight hole he'd yet to explore tonight. Get back to it, loon. He growled again and pushed her down to the base, where the slightly swollen knot awaited. Before the stream started, they agreed to keep her mouth from getting knotted, and that afterwards they'd have another session in the shower if it got messy like their first round did. And it was about to get messy. His eyes started to roll up and his head followed again. F, loon, I'm gonna my knot. His whine was heard and her hands cupped around his swelling base. They squeezed around it and his eyes scrunched shut. A deep growl permeated the air before he roared with his release. Luna, he growled at the first thick burst that left the tip. His eyes cracked open, and he looked back down at her as the suckling started. She groaned and hummed, gulping down his seed like it was Beelzejuice, before she pulled back and a whimper and whine escaped him as he watched his girlfriend take several strands of his cum to her face. Luna swallowed the contents in her mouth before she smiled up at him. You a little backed up, huh? No, I just really love you. He grinned back before he helped her stand. One of her hands remained on his pee-pee while he helped her back up to her feet, and the other reached up to tug on his collar again. Yeah, she really loved the symbolism of his lock, having her moon on it once he explained it. Not bad for a doof. Once they were sure he would reach, his lips pressed against hers. The interesting twist on bitter that was his essence left a slight twist to her sweet-tasting lips that he didn't fully enjoy. But it was Luna lips, so his higher mind's opinion was moot. The rest of Naruto loved it. Loved her. I love you, Naruto, she said around another embrace as her claws wrapped around his sides. He returned the hug and nuzzled his head against hers. Oh, no, I got some of my spunk on my fur after nuzzling her face. Looks like we have to shower together. It wasn't visible to the camera, but Naruto's tail was wriggling wildly in excitement at the thought of more shower play. I love you, Luna. His eyes looked from the cute wag of her tail to the camera lens on her phone. Now, let's go get cleaned up. The Harvest Moon Festival's regular festivities took place the day after the Elysium Fight Finals. A rather successful night, regardless of who was asked, unless that someone was a certain salty shark-headed sinner, all things considered. Huh. Stryker blinked as he lined up his shot. Standing just to the side of Prince Stolas was the Duke of Gluttony. He'd thought the Duke had ducked out back to his ring once he called in the Oni. But now that meant he had two nobles in his line of sight. Yeah, the Duke was a much higher caliber target, probably worth more alive than dead. But he was still a noble-blooded F that encouraged the hierarchy of hell. Imps everywhere would be better off without him. It wasn't part of the job. But if he angled this shot right, yeah, that's a twofer. It could be speculation as to who the target was. He'd make F bank so long as he absolutely vanished as soon as he ensured the shot hit or missed, and his employer wouldn't be immediately implicated in the hit. Not unless they figured out the true target. Pissed. Hey, Mr. Stryker. What you doin'? F. This little SHT again. Stryker turned and drew his knife to stab the brat in the head just to get rid of the annoyance. Squelch! Huh, that was not the head of a child. That was a plain, white shirt spread across a broad torso. And ... it was bleeding from the abdomen. Stryker slowly looked up to stare at the eyes of the Duke of Gluttony. A firm grip wrapped around his wrist and pried it off of the knife that remained in the Duke's upper abdominals. Okay, that's one way to answer my question, I guess. He pulled Stryker up to dangle off the ground and ripped the Carmilla-crafted rifle out of his grip with the other. He took hold of the barrel and stepped onto the stock. Crack. F. That cost a lot of money. Stryker winced as his wrist was crushed into paste and looked up at the Duke's face. White glowing eyes met his and he gulped. Oh, this ain't gonna end well for me, is it? This probably isn't going to end well for you, no. The Duke grinned and his tail snapped around behind him. But tell you what, I'll only break one limb if you give me your client's name right now. Give you a sporting chance to beat it. What? Stryker blinked. The Duke flicked at the knife in his chest. This is nothing. At worst you ruined my shirt and gave me a new knife to add to my collection. He plucked Stryker's knife and wiped it on Stryker's sides before he slipped the knife into the space between his belt and his pants. Look, assassin, my job today is to protect Stolas. I'm not even getting paid for it. It's part of a deal with Lucifer. Oh, F. They totally knew about the hit. Stryker almost put himself on the fast path to death for no F reason. Yeah, you realize my conundrum here. The Duke wobbled his free hand. I gotta keep Lucifer happy so I can get back to my life. That's one of your clones out there, ain't it? Quite a few of them, actually. Damn it. Got Stolas doing some of his magic CRP from afar in a secluded space known only by yours truly. His family is secreted away and their phones are being selectively jammed by their host. SHT, F, butt, tits, SHT. His employer's phone had been isolated and messages to and from his phone were likely blocked. Stryker narrowed his eyes. What's the catch here? No catch. A broken limb, maybe. The Duke shrugged. Gotta make it look good, but whether you believe me or not, I don't want you dead. Assassins are useful. Zabuza is proof of it. I may want to call on your services one day. Stryker couldn't help himself. He laughed. You want me to work for you? He spat on the open wound in the Duke's chest and then sneered at the royal BLD. Why don't you just do us both a favor and kill me before you go back to your HRM of thirsty beaches and get M to F you? Alright, there's too much for me to unpack there right now, so I'm just going to ignore it. The Duke shook his head. You're working for Stella, aren't you? She's just as bad as, if not worse, than I am, and I'm higher than her on the totem pole. TCH, that just leaves me with a further fall if something happens. The imp half sneered and his tail lashed. At least that beach pays up front for me to get a effin' cushion in place, not to mention she bought the effin' gun, saved me a effin' mint. Thank you for your confirmation. Wah-ah, F. Stryker narrowed his eyes and flicked his wrist. His second knife reached up to slice at the Duke's hand and oh, right. The F-er still had a hand free. I see that we won't be doing any business in the near future. Shame, because... Bang! The door to the attic was kicked open, and that scrawny little Nancy boy married to his cover family's eldest daughter stormed in. Stryker, look, I don't know what your deal is, but... His eyes drifted to the broken gun on the ground. Is that a Carmine-crafted rifle? Aha! I knew it. I knew you were up to something. Oh, why, your majesty? I hope I'm not. That is, if this is an official, an investigation, I have several, suspicions and observations. The little PP boy stammered. The Duke rolled his eyes. You're not interrupting anything, Maxie. Blue hound-like eyes looked back into Stryker's red and yellow. We're just about finished here. Yeah, we are. Stryker grinned and kicked his heels together. The smoke bomb trigger he set as a last measure went off, and given the Duke's hound-like physiology, his arms were released. Gah, I can't see. You can't see? My F-nose is on fire. The Duke snarled and whirled around with whimpers as he swiped in Stryker's direction based on sound. Good thing he could move quietly when needed. He pulled a window in just at another swing and let the shatter of glass deafen him. God F damn it, Stryker, you ungrateful BSTRD. I was going to let you go. F, consider yourself on my list. You miserable little SHT. A chill went down Stryker's spine as he dove out the window and sprinted for the stable. He grabbed the bug-out bag he stashed there and hopped on the horse he'd tamed. Next time, Mothaf. He sneered and rode off into the wilds. I'll be ready for you and those F-in imps next time. Bee yawned and collapsed on her bed. Another week-long party went off without a hitch. She finally got the last dumb wannabe moocher out of her house and could crash to recharge for next week. She stretched her 4 arms up before 2 went behind her head and the other 2 rested on her stomach. She just needed a couple of hours and maybe a quickie. Cerberus should be free later. It was Thursday, right? She should check the calendar. Men, that can wait until she napped. Her eyes fell shut. Kriyak. Her ear twitched at the sound and she growled. Whoever thought they could break into her room was about to be in for a very rude and very final surprise. BB? That was not the sound of a home intruder or a partner that overstayed their welcome. Time for a quick vibe check. She sniffed the air. Fear was understandable. They were in her home after she just got rid of the last party animal. Uncertainty didn't seem out of place for an intruder, either. It was the sorrow that had her eyes snap open and sit up. A little orange fox with big droopy ears and a long silky tail curled over his feet stood partway through her door. Big blue eyes stared at her while a little clawed hand clutched to door uncertainly. The urge to sleep had never left B so fast. Hey, baby bro, sleep well? She asked. The first time he fell asleep, not 4 days after he came home with her, she panicked and rushed him back to Belfager's personal office. There were tests done for weeks before it was determined by the sin of sloth that he was still accumulating to the amount of power in his body, something that Lucy's little Charlie was also going through. This was the 8th time since then that he'd woken up from what Belle called a Naru nap. He'd been asleep for about 9 years now, a good 5 years shorter than the last one. Baby bro hesitated before he shook his head and forced a smile. Just wanted to tell you I'm awake. You know, I'm gonna go make some ramen. You want anything? While the offer to get her something was genuine and oh so sweet, B frowned. The negative vibes all around her baby bro were still as potent when he opened the door, even as he smiled at her. That meant something happened while he slept or when he woke up. For as long as she watched over him, which was already like 2 centuries at this point, she still knew so little about him. The constant and sporadic Naru naps didn't help, but the gap between them was shrinking. She could only hope they would come to a stop soon. Thanks, baby bro, but I'm good. She hummed and patted her mattress. Hey, see near real quick. Okay? His cute little feet tapped across her floor, and his 2 long tail dragged across the ground like a lifeless snake until he hopped up onto the bed beside her. No sooner did he manage that impressive feat of athleticism for a hellborn of his physical age, did she snatch him up into a tight and full 4-armed hug. She grinned as she pushed her muzzle into his neck and vibe-checked him while he squawked and struggled in her assault of affection. GRR, let me go. No. I missed you. There were so many parties you missed out on again. She muttered, a bit heartbroken at that fact. His vibes were just so rank. This little cutie didn't deserve to be as sad as he was. Come on, B, I'm hungry, you know, he whined, and she nosed at his cheek. A half-lie, he was hungry, but it wasn't the thing that bothered him. And to her growing elation, he was way more open to getting hugs if that surge of salty sweet trifecta of joy, safety and relief was anything to go by. I want ramen. You managed fine for years, a few minutes more won't hurt. She cooed and flopped back onto her bed. I need a quick nap, and now I have a cute baby bro to cuddle with during it. B, he struggled for another minute before he went slack with a resigned huff. Will you please let me go? I'll come right back after I get a bowl of ramen. I'll let you go when you stop trying to feed me bullshit. Bull? But I'm fine, ugh. Her baby bro was such an awful liar. His vibes screamed at B for more cuddles. Baby bro, please? I'm too tired for the bullshit. She admitted with a sigh as she nuzzled his big right ear. He was so cute. She liked checking on him when he was in his narrow naps, but she had way more fun when he was awake. She planted a wet big sister embrace on his cheek and giggled at his whine. She nuzzled his head and sighed while one of her hands tweaked at a spot behind his ear. Come on, what happened? Your vibes were so rank when you walked in. Who do I gotta eat? It's not. You don't have to eat anyone. His voice dropped and his breathing hitched. I had a nightmare. That's all. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 11. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author BonesBoy15 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.